Okay, drag him in.
All right, you ready? All right, if you're not asking or having a discussion on Israel-Palestine, you're immediately gone. Shrimple as.
Ban him. Permaban from everything.
Christy, Israel-Palestine, what do you got?
So it's only going to be about Israel-Palestine, right?
That's right.
All right. I'm going to just straight up say something that's like in the email. So about Israel and Palestine. So I genuinely believe that Israel and Palestine, all of the parties involved in the conflict, I genuinely believe that there is no way for peace among them, and that's because, well, how should I say this? If you were to look at the way that they approach, like what they want, each one of them, one thing that I've been able to observe is that every single one of them is fascistic in some way in their approach. Like, for
Every
example,
single one of them is what?
fascistic, as not exactly. It's
Wait,
close.
every single one of them is autistic?
No, not autistic, fascistic.
Fascistic. Okay, you're...
Oh, okay.
Okay, this mic is trolling me, but that's okay.
You're talking through a tin can right now.
Yeah, it's all good.
Man, it kind of sucks. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
I'm just going to talk. I'm going to talk.
You're good. It's all good. It's life. That's life.
I mean, my point is that they're fascistic because, and here's my claim, the Zionist movement and from the river to the sea, the way that I see them is they are both irredentistic. Are you aware with that term, Destiny?
Nope.
Irredentism is a classic fascism hallmark, and that is recapturing or completing a empire from the past. Like, for example, in Benito Mussolini's case, he would always talk about like Imperium Romani, whatever. Like he was talking about like the Roman Empire and like his goals of recapturing that. And the one thing that I've been able to observe in like Israel's Zionism and the way that they approach with like everything that they did in the British mandate of Palestine, or like Palestine, whatever, you know what I'm getting at. The way that they approach it is that they want to gain a superiority, like some sort of like tribal superiority that you can observe in like classical fascism. And so that's why it's kind of awkward, because in order for there to be any peace in Palestine, you would have to get both the Palestinians, because they are also complicit in this. They are also irredentistic, in particular with the claim from the river to the sea. That is also an irredentistic claim, which is, it's not from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. That's like what the leftists are trying to like push for. But if you want to take the more classical approach, that used to be from the river to the sea. Israel will be either Arabic or Islamic, depending on if you want to go for like the nationalist or like the religious fascism approach. And that's why you will never see any sort of like peace come through in that region until both of these parties involved, like they both have to do it. Because if only Israel drops its ambitions to gain to essentially fulfill the kingdom of Israel as they so desire with their Zionism, if they drop that, the Hamas or like the Palestinians would do everything in their power to like conquer Israel and try to bring it back to what it used to be at a certain point in the past.
So what is your question or prescription here?
I only foresee two possible solutions, and I want some perspective, and I want you to like give your opinion on what I have to say on this. So the only way that you can achieve any sort of like long-lasting peace in the Middle East, it would have to be by incentivizing both of the Israelis and the Palestinians to drop their fascistic approach and like gaining control over that area, whether it's from like an ideological selfishness or like from a economical one, like whether they want every single person in Palestine to be of Jewish religion or like of Islamic religion. You would have to like make or a path forward where they both drop their desire for like I don't know, I guess tribal domination. So the only other solution that I would have for this, it would be if it would be kind of like a third party to go in there physically, like boots on the ground, and ensure that it's like incentivize this sort of like so that they can de-incentivize their fascistic desire. What do you think about this particular approach?
Go ahead, Steven.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, but I mean, we're kind of, that's like the question, right? How do you make both sides stop fighting with each other? If we could go in and get it so both sides don't want to fight with each other anymore, then the fighting would stop. Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, you would have to take a look at like how it was done for Nazi Germany. Like that would have to be the approach taken. Maybe not as hard as because like Dresden bombing and all the.
Well, sure, but I mean, like that's the easy one because Germany was like our opponent in World War II, so we defeated Germany and we made them acquiesce to our terms. But in Israel-Palestine, there's a huge disagreement around the world over who's in the right, so it makes it a lot more difficult to figure out what the solution should be to that, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what makes it a bit harder to do. But there's no other foreseeable solution to the conflict in Israel-Palestine because both of these they are two tribes. It's the tribes of the Jews that want like the return of Zion, the king of Zion, as like how it used to be like, I don't know, 2,000, 3,000 years ago, or like whatever the fuck. And then there's the Palestinians, and in particular the Hamas approach of the Palestinians, not so much the Palestinians themselves, because I don't think that they genuinely want what Hamas wants, but what Hamas wants is essentially like how it used to be during the time of the Ottoman Empire. So like that's usually where the conflict stems from. And so you would have to think about a strategic way to justify a presence to make them like stop fighting each other and then be proactive to like disincentivize those types of desires to like rear their heads again. Now the question would be then what would be the best approach? I mean, there's like psychotic approaches like trying to like make a false flag in the United States by like an Israel group and like blaming it on Israel and say, okay, we go all in and like stabilize that region for good, and that would be a way to do it. But I don't think that's like the best approach to this. You would have to think about like a better strategy. That's how I see it. Would you agree or disagree?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but again, the question is just like, what is that approach, right? That's like the whole, yeah, obviously, if we could find a way to approach it to get both sides to chill or to come to some common ground or to agree on some solution. But the question is how to do that, right?
Well, yes, but the first step would be to recognize that both of these parties, like they both have this fascistic approach to like territorial claims and like I don't know, they genuinely want that the entire region to be Islamic because like as I said, right?
Yeah, but fascistic in this point is going to be a perspective. The Palestinians will tell you that their history is just true, and then the Israelis will tell you that their history is just true. So from their perspective, the other side they would agree is fascistic, but it wouldn't be them.
Yeah. That's part of the problem. It's a bit of a complicated task to like approach it, but I mean, there's multiple people that like, I don't know, there's also part of the problem that multiple people do not see the way that like the from the river to the sea is also fascistic, just as fascistic as and when I say fascistic, I'm more like how they behave, not so much as in like traditional fascism, although there are some similarities. I mean, with how they behave, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that the perspective here is I feel like this is just a perspective question. Like, if you agree that your history is genuinely correct,
well, you would have to make it so that they meet in the middle. Like that.
Yeah,
that
I agree, but that's like the question.
as.
That's like the question, right? How do you do
that?
that?
Yeah, and like I said, there's like multiple. I mean, I haven't really thought about like a best solution for this. I mean, it's usually something that like teams of people would have to like think about a solution for this. But the problem is most people do not even see it as such. Like people just go on Twitter and say, "Oh, Israel is just in the wrong," and then they get up in their feelings, in particular the leftist ones, and then there's also people that are like, "Well, wait, hang on a second. If Israel relinquishes their militaristic because like if the Palestinians would have had the military and like the capabilities of like the Israelis."
These are your final words because you got kicked.
Okay, sorry. All right, sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
So,
right, go ahead.
Well, I mean, yeah, just think about maybe this general idea. Like, that's usually what I would think about first. Like, how would you get both of them to the table? Because that's
you're gonna get
the
to the
way
table.
Gotcha. All right. Okay, but
All right, thank you, Christy.
All right, thank you.
Oh, I mean, it's Shrimple. You just gotta find a solution for him. All right, Hussein, somehow you got up here. Go ahead.
Oh, well, Bing dragged me up here because he thought my question was good, Mouton. Okay, I guess my main claim was that Israel's actions in the Rafah offensive after May 6th of 2024 disqualifies it from being a liberal democracy in the same sense as Western liberal democracies. And this is mainly because this is basically based off the writings of Hugo Grotius and his writings on the rules of war. So would you agree or disagree with that, Mr. Destiny?
I'd probably disagree, but I guess I would have to know more specifically, I guess, what we're talking about. Or what are the actions,
Okay,
I guess, that we feel were, I guess, disqualifying.
Yeah, I guess specifically the one thing I did highlight was there was a raid on February 12th and a series of airstrikes which freed 2 Israeli hostages, and it resulted in the deaths of around 70 Palestinians, and I think Associated Press had reporting that it says around 70% of those people who were killed amongst those 70 Palestinians were civilians. And I think that's just one example in the sense, in like the broader case I'm making, in that like Israel does not operate militarily the same way as other Western liberal democracies do. They don't put as much deference on human life. But this is not an argument saying that the like people like Islamists like Hamas or Iran or Hezbollah do the same. I think my main point is that Israel is much more like they fit in the region more than a lot of like people would like to think.
I mean, I think I would partially agree with that. I guess if I'm remembering this raid correctly, I would have to, I don't know if I would say I would agree to disagree, but I would have to read more back into like what actually happened. But like, this is the one where there was a bunch of video footage released of them doing this raid, right? Like they're inside the building and they see the people talking and they go through and I would have to see the how they came to that conclusion of 70% of the people killed were civilians. I'd be very curious about that. Because one of the annoying things about this raid, wait, hold on. One of the annoying things about this raid was that one of the things that people kept claiming over and over again was that Israel shouldn't bomb anything and they should just do special forces. And this was like a special forces raid to try to retrieve some civilians, or I'm sorry, some hostages, but they met like really, really heavy resistance on, I think while they were doing this rescue mission. And then, there were definitely people killed. I'm curious what the 70% civilian number, though, where that came out from.
Okay, just to be totally honest and upfront, you should take that with a small grain of salt. It was repeated by Associated Press, but it was originally reported by the Gaza Ministry of Health. Sure. So it could possibly be inflated.
Sure, which doesn't necessarily make it invalid. I'm just saying I would be curious. I would have to see the how they came to that conclusion that 70% of the people were civilians.
I mean, but that's just one specific like example in the broader claim that Israel does not operate in the same way most Western liberal democracies operate. Like when you if you look at what is Iraq,
I'm curious what we mean when we say when we say like Western liberal democracies. That seems like to get rid of like a Western liberal democracy. Like this is a very broad term that encompasses like a whole bunch of different aspects of a government.
Yes.
Like I don't know if I would say that like a thing like this, like would Abu Ghraib disqualify the United States from being like a Western liberal democracy? Like I don't think so, but Abu Ghraib was a terrible atrocity with documented video evidence and everything. Yeah, like we're good.
But there's a difference in the amount of scale in which these things occur. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but Abu Ghraib was maybe the tens of thousands. How many, upwards tens of thousands, 100,000 Palestinians are in prison? You know?
I don't think there are 100,000 Palestinians in prison. So Abu Ghraib was a U.S. prison that was in Iraq, I believe, right? Where they were torturing and abusing prisoners in ways that was beyond like not just like advanced interrogation, but I think they were like sexually humiliating people and people were taking pictures like with these prisoners that they were torturing and humiliating. It was not good stuff.
But again, another thing I would say is that a lot of these people they were court-martialed, they faced criminal prosecution for many of these actions. I don't think that what happened with specifically the Israeli soldiers who sodomized the Palestinian prisoners, were they prosecuted? I generally
also, hold on, we gotta be careful. I'm just saying we gotta be really careful from going from story to story because there are so many of these stories that end up, in my opinion, just being total bullshit. And for Israel, there's so many of them. So like just on that special forces raid or whatever, I don't know if I ever saw any compelling evidence or reason to believe that there were like crazy war crimes or anything going on in the course of this raid. In terms of like were people killed that were civilians, I'm sure that is possible, but like I can't think of any. I don't know if there was any evidence or anything that came out of like indiscriminate fire on civilians or anything else. Like these people were also the hostages were kept in 2 civilian homes. So I would just be curious to see who got killed there or what like the actual specific allegations are. And there are so many of these. I know you said that's just one example, but there are so many examples of these. Like that whole flower massacre massacre thing. I don't believe that
Yeah.
Israel was fake dropping food just to kill 100 Palestinians because they were bored. I don't buy these things.
Well, yeah.
So I'm sure
I mean, that's
when
kinda
we
why
go, we could look into more of the Palestinian thing. I guess I haven't heard as much about that. I just haven't dug into that because like a year and a half ago, I just stopped digging into the individual stories because it was a waste of time for so many of these. But like even if I were to grant that that some of these stories are true and that these are really bad things, I don't know if I would say it's like this is just completely disqualifying them as a Western style liberal democracy. Like there would be so many other factors that would go into that, I think.
I guess the specific thing, I'll try to mention this earlier, the specific thing I would try to pinpoint in which they don't operate in the same way as an aspect of a liberal democracy is like Hugo Grotius was he was a liberal theorist during the Protestant Reformation in the 30 Years' War, and he talked a lot about the fact that if you are a state, you should put heavy deference and heavy limitations on military operations that might result in the harm of civilians, and through that his writings is basically what we build most of the rules of engagement and international law off of. So I think, and I'm pretty sure that my main claim is that Israel acts in a way that they do not put enough deference and care in reducing the amount of civilian casualties, that it kind of goes against a lot of Grotius's writings, who's like a pivotal liberal theorist.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we would just have to. I mean, like that's kind of the question, huh?
Yeah.
Do we feel like there is a better, more responsible way that Israel could conduct itself militarily in the Gaza Strip? I'm not sure if I've ever seen or heard any compelling answers related to that, because every single time this topic is brought up, the vibe that I get is generally just that people feel like the only answer is Israel should just not do anything, like overwhelmingly. I don't think I've ever heard a single serious suggestion given for what would be like the moral way for Israel to respond to anything that's ever been done to them, other than they just shouldn't do it ever. I think a really good example of that
but
was...
that's like the lefty, like retard kind of argument. That's not necessarily the argument I'm making.
Well, sure, but even if we were to look for a more specific argument for like how, like what they should have done different militarily, like I guess what are answers or like what is like I guess like what's an alternate approach that they could have taken for the Gaza Strip stuff, at least like in the first year?
Are you asking me? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think the over reliance on conscripts and like the lack and they have a very loose rules of engagement. I've read this one Associated Press article. I think just because they're like the entire IDF is like a conscript military, I'm not saying there's not like well trained people within the IDF. I'm just saying that if they simply put more emphasis and funds on training a lot of their ground forces instead of this over reliance on a lot of the air power and airstrikes, which at times have been inaccurate and led to a lot of civilian casualties, I think we could have saw much better outcomes in the Gaza Strip.
I mean, I haven't heard that argument before. Maybe it's possible, I guess. I don't know if I guess I would have to think about that. I'm not sure.
I'm not saying send in special forces. I'm saying
no, I understand. I'm trying to think of like, because what I'm trying to think of is that I guess like when I look at the strikes, when I look at the civilian deaths and everything, and I'm comparing it to like other conflicts, I'm not really getting the idea that this is like it's not like outside the norm so much in terms of what you would expect for civilian casualties, like if anything, and it's hard to compare it to anything else because nothing is quite as dense as Gaza, as all the leftists like to remind us all the time. But it doesn't really seem like here's what I'll say. If nobody knew the numbers for how many people died in Gaza, and I were to give you the talking points about how Israel is indiscriminately bombing and killing people here without regard for civilian life, and then I were to ask somebody to estimate the amount of civilian death versus Hamas death, I don't think the numbers will look like anything like they actually do. I think people would assume 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 people were killed, with maybe like 10,000 Hamas fighters dying. I think that would be the assumption, and I don't think the numbers just don't seem to match that at all.
I see where you're coming from, but I also want to pivot a little bit to another point you previously made. I remember, you can say if this is accurate retelling of your opinion or not, but I think you did say once that specifically after Rafah, after a lot of the accusation of like war crimes after Rafah, you kept seeing the IDF going into ground operation Gaza without a clear end in sight, and it didn't seem like they were making any considerable gains in dismantling or destroying Hamas. So I just want to kind of talk about that a little bit and highlight that. Like, do you still hold that position? Is that an accurate retelling of your?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know why it went on for so long after that. I was never aware of, and I never heard any answers for why that was the case. Why the conflict lasted so long after.
Is your final question?
But then I also don't know.
Okay,
I guess I feel like the positions on everything are just like so extreme. So like there are so many statements you could make, I think, that are easily defensible, that the military action was excessive. was unnecessary, was maybe more pointed towards a goal of like population harassment or whatever versus like actual military ends. Like I think there are statements here that are pretty defensible, but when the statement is like, because of these statements, they're no longer a liberal democracy, it's like, wow, that just feels like a really extreme, especially given all the other conduct of liberal nations and wars in the past. It just seems like a really, really, really extreme. Like, was the United States not a liberal democracy during Vietnam when we were also drafting soldiers, which is arguably worse than how the IDF works? So, I mean...
Yeah, I guess, okay. I would have to think more about that last point you made. Like, for my final question, is there anything that you see in the recent months, I would say, with Israel kind of colluding with Trump and Orban? Do you think that would push them outside the realm of a liberal democracy? Would you concede to that?
Not really, no. But this is like, again, this is like a really far off, like outside of a liberal, like you can be a really horrible liberal democracy, right? But like as long as you have relatively, like when B'Tselem like exists in Israel, it's hard to say that like that's no longer a liberal democracy. Or when 2 million Arabs live in Israel proper,
yeah,
yeah.
So I guess like unless something drastic changes, you wouldn't really.
I guess, but it's just like such a far out. There are so many good and strong criticisms that you could make way before you even get to that point. That I don't know. There's just like a really extreme position to take, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me. Thanks, Mouton. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Destiny.
Goodbye.
Yeah. Have fun. Be careful.
Bye bye.
Jeffrey Skywalker.
Seriously? I love Star Wars. Oh, guess not.
GTI guy.
Hey, welcome. Thanks for having me back, guys.
Jesus, what do I have like 3 fans?
Well, I'm going through the payers first.
Okay.
And these are all the tier 3s.
Uh-oh, chat's already hating on me. I'll make this quick. I see a lot of people recently just in random stuff online or in the news talking about that Netanyahu himself is like one of the biggest barriers to progress. And I just want Destiny's temperature on that.
I mean, a little bit, but I mean, Netanyahu is there for a reason, and it's because the Israeli population still kind of like is broadly supportive of that coalition, and Netanyahu is good at keeping that coalition of people together. So it's like saying Trump is a big barrier to progress in the United States. Like, it's kind of true, but I mean, America voted for him, unfortunately.
The big Yahoo.
Yes. Could you expand a little bit more on like how he's keeping it like together recently, aside from just, I guess, attacking Iran would be the big thing, but it also seems like some of his population's getting a little exhausted, or maybe I'm...
What do you mean exhausted?
I don't know, not seeing the whole thing. Exhausted, like, of war, of like conflict, of like feeling, I guess, under fire, or like...
I don't know. Are they? I'm not really sure right now. Do they feel exhausted? Or I feel like Israel especially, I think there was a time when they were, like right before the Hezbollah attacks, but then after they got Hezbollah, after Assad fled, after Nasrallah died, after these Iran attacks, I don't know. I feel like if you're like a pro-war Israeli person, I feel like you're sitting pretty good right now.
Might be true, but I guess how many of them like still would remain pro-war after seeing like how the conflict has been kind of on the downturn the last couple of weeks, or like how the...
What do you mean? The last couple of weeks, the Ayatollah is dead. This is like the number one keynote thing of your Israel. It's like your dream.
I guess that's fair. Yeah, Rip Bozo. I guess, yeah, so you don't think there's any downtrend at all? Maybe I'm just reading the wrong shit. You think people are pretty happy there? Like
that would be my assumption would be that they're like that they feel like they're sitting pretty good right now. That would be my assumption. I could be wrong on that though. I don't follow like local Israeli politics, but you've got like a US president that is sycophantically on your side for everything, and then you've got all of your enemies are constantly just taking the fattest L's ever. So I mean, I don't know why. If you're Israeli, yeah, I feel like you'd be sitting pretty good right now. That'd be my feeling.
Their stock market's at an all-time high.
Shit, is it really? What's the Israeli exchange?
I don't know what it's called, actually.
I don't know off the top of my head.
People are saying Bennett is getting stronger in the polls right now. Netanyahu is bleeding. Okay. Yeah, maybe the leadership change will come soon. But I mean, I feel like, yeah, if you were like a big pro-war Israeli, I feel like you've gotten almost everything you've wanted over this conflict.
What is the other leader like compared to like a Democrat in the United States?
There's like a cult there. Israel has like so many political parties. It's crazy. They've got so many. So it's just like coalitions of
that's what I was reading, is that they have a lot of like fairly close to the center, kind of center left, center right people that are, I guess, vying for power, and their coalition's fairly fractured. I think Netanyahu himself only has his coalition of like 2 or 3 different parties is like just over half of the Knesset right now.
Is that true? That Netanyahu's coalition is only 2 or 3 parties?
I think it's only like maybe it's a little more than 2 or 3, but I don't think it's like
It's 5. It's 5
or
parties.
5. Okay.
So the Likud
Yeah.
is the party he's a part of. That's 32 seats right now, and then there's 11 seats with the Shahs, 7 with the Religious Zionist Party, 6 with Otzma Yehudit, and 4 New Hope seats.
And I forget
What's
which
so
one,
funny?
but
What's so
Star
funny?
Wars seats.
Really, really.
one of them is I think also vying for protection from I guess the Israeli version of the draft, and that's like I guess a hot topic. And
Well, they
I think
had it
there's-
was I forget what the name of them are. That whatever their more religious people are. They, for the longest of times, were excluded from having to be drafted, were excluded from conscription. And I think that changed a year ago, where Israel finally made it so, no, you motherfuckers have to sign up for the IDF as well. The Orthodox, yeah. I think that changed, though, right? Somebody can tell me if I'm wrong on that.
I don't know if it officially changed, but I think that was one of the things I was reading about. But okay, cool. Well, I appreciate it as always.
Yeah, be careful.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I got a question.
What?
The filibuster.
Mm-hmm.
I think getting rid of it would actually be good, and people might soy out on this because not that hard of a take. But do you think it would make Republicans/Democrats have to vote their minds more versus just
On party lines all the time?
being able to hide behind party lines? Yeah.
Maybe. It's hard to say.
Okay.
The problem is that, like, I actually think I kind of sort of agree with, wait, okay, just make sure Josiah's not here. I kind of agree with the filibuster. I actually think it's an okay thing to have, like, conceptually. Like, ideally, you would want a little bit more consensus in the Senate before you start passing, like, huge pieces of legislation. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. But the only issue is that the Republican Party is just so fractured on everything, and or not fractured, but I should say so polarized against everything that it is impossible to do anything right now in Congress. Like you have a Republican Congress, like to repeat the arguments I give over and over again about how irritated I get when people are like, oh, we need new laws to prevent these things from happening and everything else. Like the laws to stop Trump are all in place right now. The Republican side of Congress has decided that they have abdicated all responsibility to their job. They do not want to do anything. They don't work anymore. So I mean, like, what do you do at that point?
I just think it'd be nice to have like, I don't know, maybe play a little bit more politics in like the way of like, if there's a bill that
like what Biden
you
was
don't want
doing.
to pass, he
was good at talking to individual senators. Like what should
Yes.
happen in an ideal world, and I understand there's going to be some politicking involved, but in an ideal world, what would happen is a new bill is up called the Corn Farmer Subsidy Bill. You look at your district, or if you're a senator, you look at your state and you decide, will this bill benefit my state or not? And then you make decisions based on there. If you think it will, and you want to vote for it, if the other party brought it up, then you go to your whip, you go to your majority leader, your minority leader in the Senate, you tell him, listen, I think I need to vote for this bill. I know I'm going to break step with you guys, but like here are some concessions maybe that you or I could ask for this bill or whatever. Like this is how it should go. But now it's like a straight like RD, like that's a Democrat bill, I don't vote for it. Or that's a Republican bill, I'm going to fight for that, and that's it.
But it would be also nice because then like that Republican senator, for example, or the Democratic senator can like get some face with their audience of like, hey, look, I can go across the aisle. I can actually vote on XYZ if it's going to benefit us. I don't see.
Which is what they do.
Really,
But like the most cancerous, perverted way that this plays out is like there were people. I wish I could remember the specific example of this. It might have been over the infrastructure bill where there were politicians that were fighting tooth and nail and then bragging about the accomplishments of like the Biden infrastructure bill.
but they didn't vote for it.
They voted against it. Yes.
Yes.
And it's like
evil. It's
and
crazy.
so it's like, what the fuck are we doing here? Is retarded.
I think they were doing that with a lot of the infrastructure or the transportation bill too. They were like, oh, look, we're bringing the fucking trains back, XYZ. And they voted against it. It's fucking stupid. All right, I'll bring up next again. Devin, go ahead.
Hey, sorry, meeting stream. So my question and claim would relate more to Israel being a major U.S. ally. So like one of the allies codified in law that's a non-NATO major ally. Do you think that they should have that designation, or do you think that like maybe we should distance more with them?
I think it's a good designation to have, but we should, like, the problem is that, especially under Trump, is Trump acts like we have no leverage. Like, if we're designating somebody like this, we should have a great deal of say over how we can dictate their behavior to be. But we're pretending right now, or at least Trump is pretending, or he's just weak, that we don't have any say over their behavior. So, I think designating them like that is fine. The Middle East is an important region. Israel is a strong ally for that region. However, if we're going to designate somebody like that, like, along with all the privileges that come with being a strong U.S. partner, there should also be, like, the ability for us to place big restrictions on bad behavior, which it seems like like we don't do
Okay.
right now.
Yeah, I think I agree with that then. Do you like my issue though is we never do seem to.
We definitely have under past presidents. Like you can look at this Iran war, for instance, how Netanyahu has been begging the U.S. for so long to engage in this conflict, and most U.S. leaders before Trump have said no, we're not doing that. Or you can look at like again the JCPOA from Obama. Israelis hated Obama for that. That was like the biggest stab in the back. These hated the fact that the U.S. signed that with Iran. But I mean, like Israel's our partner, so you know, chill out, sit down, and that's how it should go to some extent. But yeah,
I guess in my mind, it just doesn't really feel like we're partners. It kind of seems like they're a like Qatar tier ally that maybe does a little bit of intelligence sharing, but like the main reasons that I usually get told, and you can tell me if you agree or disagree, that we're allies with Israel is sort of like there's the intelligence aspect, there's the military technology aspect, right? Because they develop a lot of military technology that we use and we share with each other and we learn from each other. But it feels like we don't actually share that much military technology with them.
I don't know about
Like,
military
I know-
technology. I mean, the nice thing about being friends with Israel is they're the strongest military in the region. So we have like big ups there if we want to fight with anybody else, or in terms of like region control. They are they're the strongest guys there. So when it comes to dealing with what used to be that axis of like, Syria, Iraq, and Iran, and keeping like Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states safe, like Israel, I think is a pretty big bulwark there. But without Israel as our partner, I mean, I think they could basically just dictate where they want that region to go completely without us. Intelligence is nice as well, but
But do you really feel like they could just change and sculpt the whole region? I mean, like we don't have any really major bases in Israel. Like usually what we have in Israel are air defense artillery systems, which we send out whenever Israel's about to get attacked to help, defend cities.
I'm not talking
and
about our
military
military. I'm
bases
saying
and whatnot.
Israel's military can do.
But
this
do you
stuff.
not feel like even if we like restrained our relations a little bit, that we would still be able to control the region a bit more, like just purely due to our presence? I mean, that's kind of why we have bases in these regions, like in Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states and in Kuwait.
I mean, we have bases for power projection and to keep like insanely crazy shit from happening, but we don't really control proxies with our bases, forward operating bases like that as much. I guess, like, what is your question? Like,
I don't know. It just feels crazy to me that Israel, which I feel like is not a very good ally of ours, is codified in law to be a major non-NATO ally.
if we
if
were
that
to,
makes sense.
I mean, like, if we were to completely sever ties with Israel, would we expect?
I'm not advocating for that.
Or what? I guess, or what are we advocating for?
I just think it's crazy that like Israel is pretty belligerent to us in a lot of ways that I think most people don't know about. Like for example, they sold us the Iron Dome system to the U.S. military, to one of my sister units when I was in the military. And after the acquisition, we asked them for the software to run them, and they just said that it wasn't part of the deal. So we have like, I think it's like 6 Iron Dome systems that we can't use because we don't even have the software for it, because they weren't wanting to give it to us as part of the deal, if that makes sense.
I feel. Wait, what
So
did you
when
work at in the military?
Israel, I was in an air defense artillery unit.
Okay, that seems. I feel like there's way more to that story. That would be mega sus, especially because my understanding is the software side of stuff is almost as important, or if not more important, or like equally important to the hardware these days. I don't know how you could buy a system like that and not have that. I feel like there's got to be way more to that story.
I mean, that's what was relayed to me, right? Because we were planning on buying more and rolling them out to more units, and then eventually we didn't. We shifted away from using Iron Dome systems because we weren't really able to. Because that was part of the our like 2030 modernization program in order to combat drones. Was we were trying to incorporate the Iron Dome systems into our air defense capabilities more.
I feel like I really have no idea. I can't answer. That sounds to me like some shit I would say if I fucked up as a manager and I'm trying to explain to my soups or my frontline employees why we don't have a thing. It's because I fucked an order up or something. But I don't know. I can't speak to it. I mean, like, I guess back to, I know you say you're just asking, but like, what would or I guess what is the prescription, or what do you think we should do differently, I guess, with their approach?
I mean, well, I think we probably have the same prescription, but it's like, well, we have mostly the same. The U.S. needs to take a lot firmer of a stance on a lot of things. I feel like our conditional aid in terms of like arms and what we give them to purchase arms from us. Like, I feel like that needs to be enforced a lot more strictly when we're giving to demands and then they're not complying. What was like because didn't Biden have a big red line in Gaza where he was like, you can't go past this area?
I keep hearing this red line thing. Can somebody explain to me what the red line is? Somebody brought this up the other day that there was like a red line where we can't go to Rafah. My understanding was that Biden said you can't go to Rafah where every single like refugee is currently residing at. So they had to pause that invasion into Rafah for a week or two to evacuate. It was about 1 million people from Rafah up north before they began. But now I've heard people say that that was a red line that they were never supposed to go into Rafah. Is there like a link on this, or what were the actual statements here? Because I feel like that was my recollection, was that you can't just push in here when there are all these civilians and then they waited for the civilians to evac and then they pushed after.
I don't have anything on hand. That was my recollection of the situation. Was I feel like they were just told that their offensive wasn't allowed to advance any further than that, because I think there were like logistical issues with getting the civilians out of Rafah into other places because of how small the Gaza.
Yeah, I think they had like no plan. They were just like, we're just going to bomb it and see what happens. And then I'm pretty sure the U.S. was like, you're not going to do that because there's going to be like 1 million civilian deaths, and this is
right. But didn't they end up doing that anyways?
No, they evacuated all of the, like, I'm pretty sure if I look for evacuation, Rafah, civilians, what year is this? Stop. March 31st, 2025. Israel's military on Monday issued sweeping evacuation orders covering Rafah and nearby areas, and indicating it could soon launch another major ground invasion in the Gaza Strip's southernmost city. Israel ended its ceasefire with the Hamas militant group and renewed its air and ground war earlier this month. At the beginning of March, it cut off all supplies of food, fuel, medicine, and humanitarian aid to the territories of over 2 million Palestinians to pressure Hamas to accept a proposed changes to the truce agreement. Israel's military ordered Palestinians to head to Muwasi, a sprawl of squalid tent camps along the coast. The orders came during Eid al-Fitr, a normally festive Muslim holiday marking the end of the... Last May, they launched a major operation in Rafah on the borders with Egypt. Supposed to withdraw from the quarter under ceasefire. It signed with Hamas, later refused to do so, citing the need to prevent weapons smuggling on Monday. People fled with their belongings. Was this after the... I think this was the issue. The orders issued. Hold on. I think I can try to find them. I'm almost positive that I remember this story, that there were like almost like 1 million people that ended up fleeing before this attack. Wait, hold on. Let's see. Biden's red line. Israel's actions in Rafah so far do not represent a major gun invasion. What is this? Hold on.
This morning, with Israeli forces pushing to the heart of Rafah and growing numbers of Palestinian civilians killed, the White House facing questions on President Biden's red line and if Israel crossed it. Especially after that strike over the weekend, killing dozens in a firestorm at a camp in Rafah.
We don't want to see a major ground operation. We haven't seen that at this point.
How many more charred corpses does he have to see before the president considers a change in policy?
We don't want to see a single more innocent life taken, and I kind of take a little offense at the question. No civilian casualties is the right number of civilian casualties.
But more civilian casualties yesterday after a new strike on this tent encampment killed at least 21 people, according to the emergency services in Hamas-run Gaza. Most of them women and children. The IDF denies the tents were in a safe zone. Israel also releasing an initial investigation into the weekend attack, which has drawn international criticism. The IDF says it used small bombs to target 2 Hamas commanders, but that a secondary explosion started the enormous fire.
Our munition alone could not have ignited a fire of this size.
The IDF says hidden Hamas weapons might have caused the blast, but offered no firm evidence. An Israeli official earlier said a gas tank could have sparked the flames. The Pentagon also confirming an NBC News report that the U.S. military has been forced to suspend aid delivery into Gaza by sea after a section of its temporary pier broke apart in bad weather.
Okay, listen, I will find this later, okay? But, sorry, I'm diverting from your conversation. Okay, go ahead, continue.
I don't remember where we left off. Basically, I just think that, I think we agree that the U.S. needs to be a lot stronger on Israel, but it just feels like we all say that we should, and then nothing ever really happens. And this isn't me like Pepe posting or anything, but it just feels like with how fickle of an ally they are. Like, I don't know if you remember this, in the early 2000s, they were selling our avionics to China.
We just laughed.
It just
We
feels...
thought that was funny.
I thought it was funny.
Why is that funny, though? I mean, it's kind of up, right? Like, this is someone who has a status, like, do we consider Israel to be on the same level as Japan? I just feel like they're...
So, this is the issue. The issue is that, like, there is no in-between for anything on any of this ever. So, like, when it comes to when it comes to any military operations in Gaza, all of the loudest voices just say there should be no war, period. That's a not only is that an impossible position, it's a retarded take. It's an impossible to work with position. So that's where like 90% of the people who criticize every single Israeli military operation, that's the position they occupy, that there should be no war at all. So absent that, and then that same thing applies too when it comes to like what are restrictions that we should place on Israel. Well, if somebody is saying there should be more restrictions on what Israel does, it's going to be 90% occupied by people who are saying we should send them nothing, give them nothing, or maybe cut them out of our alliance completely, rather than like, how do you work with a difficult ally who is doing things that, like, given the opportunity to, Israel will do things that is in their interest, and sometimes even contrary to our own interests. But like, we only ever have these conversations about Israel. And, you know, you're mentioning the fact that like these guys have been codified in laws, an informal ally. Turkey is a formal ally of the United States. Turkey's in NATO, right? And Turkey was literally World War III tier shooting down Russian jets that were flying into Syria for barely entering their airspace. There's a huge deal. You're like, whoa, what the fuck is going on?
They also like murder Kurds?
Yeah, and they also, well, they do that all the time anyway. But yeah, there was that huge thing where when we pulled out of Syria, there were a bunch of Kurdish forces that were working with the United States on operations and missions, and we said, you'll be safe, don't worry. And then we left, and then Turkey went down and they murdered all of them. And nobody gave a fuck or talks about any of it.
It's because
of
Trump,
we don't even talk about anything related to what should we do about Turkey or restricting this. We just don't have the conversation because nobody cares, because no Jews, no news. So it's annoying because like all the questions you're asking are good questions. Like, Israel is the, I don't know what you would call this type of ally, but like, if they have an opportunity to get one over on us, they absolutely will do that. I think you'd have to be naive to say otherwise. But the problem is that people act like Israel is the only country that will do this. And then the solution is never like, okay, well, how do we bring an ally like this under more kind of control or place more restrictions, have a more reliable operation where we can rely on them to kind of follow our lead on things. Instead, it's just like, this is why we have to cut them out completely. And then it's a complete neglect for anything else that'll happen in the future in that region. And it's just like, it's like, that's not a serious suggestion and it's not workable. That's my issue, I guess, mostly.
Would you say like they're like a little bit adversarial?
I wouldn't say adversarial, but they're just like, when our interests align, really good things will happen. Yeah. When our interests are not aligned, Israel, without a very strong push, will take their side versus our side.
They care less, yeah.
Yes.
They just do what they want, yeah.
Yeah.
My only issue is it seems like it's been like maybe 20 years of trying to wrangle our, ally.
Well, what do you mean by wrangle? Turkey, I don't think we have like strong wrangle forces even in the United States. There was the JCPOA with Obama, which was a big deal, but Trump came in 2016, and Trump is an Israeli dick suck. Trump gave Israel everything they wanted and more, and wouldn't restrain these on literally anything. And then Biden comes in, and then we have October 7th, and it's like, Jesus, it's just like a really bad set of circumstances. I don't know. I mean, what are some prescriptions or solutions that you have?
I do think that we should probably expect a lot more in return in terms of military technology. Like that, I think that's a big thing for me.
What do you mean by expect more? What do you mean by expect more in return for military technology?
Like, at the moment, we are currently expected to go to war with a near-peer ally. So that would be like China or maybe
Wait, I didn't understand that term. Did you say near-peer ally or what?
Near-peer? That's basically like a military force that is almost equal to us in terms of military capability.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
So I think a really critical part of that is going to be new air defense systems. So like the Iron Dome, I think that's probably a non-negotiable that...
I don't know if the Iron Dome...
Dome, though?
Well, no. One, it's not. But I don't know if the Iron Dome is like that useful to the United States. Like the Iron Dome is for like crude rocket intercepting things. There's like the Sling of David, I think, or whatever, that might be a little bit more relevant. But if we're talking about near-peer ally, I don't know if the Iron Dome is helping you against somebody that's shooting like cruise missiles or really high altitude ballistic missiles. Like this is mainly just for like.
Well, no.
What? Go ahead.
So I'm not talking about missile interception, because that would be more like THAAD that we already have.
Sure.
What I'm talking about is for like the escalation in drone warfare, because I'm pretty sure this was in the workings when I got out. It's not like classified or anything, but we were trying to use them as anti-drone systems, because that's one of the biggest things that's like, as I'm sure if you've loosely followed the Ukraine war, drone warfare is a big aspect of
yeah, I've heard.
Yeah, the war itself.
I would be, and I could not be informed on this or just making a bad assumption, but like I would be kind of surprised if it was the case that the Iron Dome could be repurposed for drone warfare.
Why do you think that's not the case?
Because I thought the main achievements for the Iron Dome is that it has a geographic layout of things that should be protected. You've got your cities and your open spaces that aren't. And then it can see crewed rockets that are being fired. It can calculate the ballistics, and then it can launch an interceptor if the calculation trajectory is like going to be in a city, and then it can intercept and destroy the rocket. But drones, unless there are drones that I'm not aware of, drones can't be calculated like that. Like a drone can just change trajectory, and like an interceptor is not going to work the same way.
Aren't there missiles that do this as well?
Possible, but I'm more so thinking of the Shaheeds, because I'm pretty sure the Iron Dome is what they utilize to take out the Shaheed Iranian drones.
Are they? How does a Shaheed work? Can a Shaheed change trajectory or no?
It's not like the quadcopter ones. It's like the have you ever seen like the Reaper drones that like kind of orbit, if that makes sense? Like they kind of circle around, but it's more like a kamikaze.
It's
it's like an RV plane almost that you just steer.
The Shaheeds.
I would need to learn more about the Shahed drone. My understanding is that do the Iron Dome missile interceptors, can those missiles, once they've been fired, can they change their trajectory significantly, or are they more or less on a set path once they've been shot?
I'm pretty sure the interceptors are rockets, so I don't think they can. No.
People in chat are saying yes.
They can?
Oh, can they?
I'm talking about the interceptors.
Soul said he's wrong. Yes, they can. They can't. Yes, no, yes, no.
It can be steered. I mean, like, can they be significantly changed or just like slightly changed? Because then the next question is going to be, how much do the Shahed change trajectories?
Yes, they can change trajectory, appearing as sharp, abrupt turns. Okay.
It's a short-range interceptor, so it's not going to matter too much. You can see them change directions in videos. Oh, okay.
How much is an Iron Dome missile?
I want to say they're like $2 million each or something. The interceptors.
Jesus, they're like
they're expensive as fuck.
Cost?
I believe. I don't know.
Yeah.
How much do Tamer intercept? Hello?
I'm just shortly cutting in to say that Iron Dome does not work with Shahed.
Wait, those are 40 to 100,000 per missile. Just as a quick thing. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, it's designed to intercept short-range, low-tech rockets and not high-speed ballistics, not cruise missiles, and not drones of the Shahed type, definitely. And more importantly, it's only good for a very, very small country. So something like Ukraine in size, it will not be impossible to do, and definitely not possible with the United States. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I've been told by military people. Bye-bye.
Be careful.
Thank you, Anna.
I would have to read more, I guess, about the drones and everything. But my understanding is that I already gave it. My understanding is that the Iron Dome is not something that would be like useful. Definitely not against any advanced, like you said before, like pure military allies. It wouldn't be useful against any advanced attackers. And then I don't know if it would be good against like the small drones or overwhelming drone attacks either. That's my understanding, but I guess I could be wrong. I don't know. But I would also say, I mean, like if we really wanted to do something about defending our country or allies against drone attacks, we probably should have worked with Ukraine more and stuff. But
I mean, we worked with them a little bit, but I mean,
not enough.
Well, I don't know if we ever gave it to Ukraine, but we have something called a directed energy, or it's a CUAS. It's like a handheld, weird little space gun that you can actually shoot at the drones to disable them. But I don't think they work anymore because of the optic fibers that they run now. I think the main concern right now is we're trying to find a way to combat a lot of things that I feel like Israel would have the expertise on. Like
I feel like Ukraine would have more expertise now.
Yeah, but I mean, from like a more pragmatic point, I guess, I feel like we could get the Republicans on board to.
I guess I mean, really, like it doesn't.
Ukraine.
The fact of the matter for this actually doesn't matter. I mean, like if Israel can help us significantly with this, then I mean, I'm just going to agree with you. I think they should, obviously. Maybe there are more.
You think they will?
If we force them, yeah. But we would have to take a strong position on them, of which currently U.S. leadership is not willing to do.
Okay.
Good question.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, buddy.
I would just say, if I link you some stuff about how they didn't give us like the key software needed to operate the Iron Dome, would that change your mind at all about or anything relating to them selling military technology to China?
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they have around on that, but I mean, like, what do you mean by like change my mind in terms of? I'd be curious to read, I guess, real quick about the whatever the software story thing is. It sounds kind of weird to me, but
someone in chat said that they wouldn't give over the source code for the Iron Dome, and the U.S. wanted it / asked for it.
Sure. I mean, that's a totally different question. But I'm curious for the system that this guy said was bought. What's the what's the article you have on that? I'm curious.
I don't specifically have an article for the technology sales happened a while ago. I think it was either the early 2000s or the late 1990s. this. But I think we've had suspicions for a while that Israel was planning on selling some of the avionics and the F-35 to China, as well as Saudi Arabia, which is a whole nother thing.
Is that happening, or has that happened?
Has it happened? I don't know if they found out if it has or not, but I know that's how China does most of their military developments. Is
could China buy avionics from an F-35 and do anything with it with just avionics from an F-35? I feel like those systems are highly integrated, but I could just be completely making that up.
It's probably about like doing the reverse engineering or whatever, no?
Well, yeah, but if it's a highly integrated system that like only works with F-35 and it's like a all proprietary shit, I don't know if like reverse engineering would even be, but I could be totally wrong. I'm not sure. I don't know. But I also don't know when we say avionics, like are we talking about just like a radar dish, or are we talking about like the whole software stack that like gets all of these integrated systems working with each other to communicate and show something useful to the I don't know. But
I'll find it for you and I'll give it to Bing to give to you, or I'll DM you.
Okay.
I wasn't expecting us to actually talk about probably don't care as much about it since it happened like 20 years ago. But I mean, I still think it's pretty, like, it's like a pattern of behavior sort of thing, if that makes sense. In my mind.
Sure. But I guess, what is your suggestion? What do you think we should do?
Well, like I said, I think Israel owes us a lot more for what we give them, like in terms of military technology. Like,
yeah, but earlier you said you feel like they probably wouldn't give any of it to us. So I mean, like, what is your suggestion?
Give any of what?
Or earlier, because I said earlier, well, I think we should force them to help us more, collaborate more, and you said, well, but do you think they would? So it sounds like your position is that they probably wouldn't. So then my question would be, what do you think we should do?
Right, I'm just saying I think we need to be more firm on Israel. Like I'm saying, I think we agree on that, right?
Yeah, but I definitely agree on that. Yeah.
As far as like the red line stuff goes, where we said there was a red line, and then because that's what it kind of sounded like to me when you watched that video, is that Biden had set out a red line that they weren't allowed to do a ground invasion of Rafah.
Well, I think Biden. I think the quote from Biden was that they can't do a ground invasion of Rafah without having an evacuation plan first. I think was the official position. But I did find the article on the UN saying that there was or not the UN, VO. Oh, this is Voice of America news, so who knows if this is fake news or not. But 800,000 people flee Rafah without safe options amid Israeli military. But this is when they waited for this evacuation to happen before they went in and they did their ground assault, which I think the full quote from Biden was that they have to have like, you can't do this attack without like an evacuation plan or something in place. That was technically the red line, but.
Okay. I guess.
I mean, I guess, what do you think? What do you think we should do? What's your perspective?
I thought I don't know. I feel like it's a very one-sided relationship. Like we get intelligence that we get from other nations in the Middle East, and
well, let's assume that we just ditched Israel as an ally. We were like, fuck this, and we just left. What do you think would happen next? Do you think it would be like, walk me through some of the things you think would happen, and then if you think it would be good or bad for
what would happen in terms of like the Middle East?
Yeah, sure. And do you think it would be good or bad for U.S. interests?
What would happen next? I think that depends on how cynical you want to get. Like, I could see them just going full bore on Gaza and the West Bank, probably. But I feel like they're kind of doing that now, if that makes sense. Like, they're just biding their time and.
Do you really think right now? Like, do you really think that Israel's going full?
No. I'm saying like they like with the settlements. It's an incremental thing. Like, I think if we abandon them, I think you're right in that Israel would probably have a lot less discretion. But I mean, they're already. Like, would you disagree that Israel is trying to gain more control of the Gaza Strip or the West Bank right now?
No, they definitely are.
So I guess like my point would just be that it's going to accelerate. So I mean, you're right that they would be negative, but I'm not advocating for like a cutoff of.
Well, yeah, but then I'm asking. Okay, so I was thinking,
diplomatic relationships or.
What are you advocating for? What do you think we should do?
We either need to enforce these like hard boundaries that we set. Like it's crazy to me that we bought Iron Domes from them and then didn't get all the software that we asked for when that was conditional of the deal.
Okay.
So we either need to like have a backbone. Like, would you agree that we kind of do let them get away with stuff sometimes?
I mean, what do you think based on what I've said so far here?
I mean, probably, yeah.
Okay. Yes, I agree.
I think you would agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I think, like I said, I think we agree on the solution. It just seems like you make excuses for them a lot of the time.
What excuse have I made for Israel?
As far as like a specific claim goes, I'm trying to remember because you haven't talked about Israel in a while. It seemed kind of weird to me that you didn't want to call them evil.
Okay.
Not oh my God, not Israel itself, but like the law is kind of crazy, right?
Yeah. Okay. I don't think I make excuses for Israel. I'm pretty critical of when they do bad things. I think we should hold them more accountable for things. Like, I acknowledge that they.
But, I mean, you're not though. Like, you don't think the flower massacre happened, or you think.
I don't think it did. I think it's bullshit.
It didn't happen. Right? Yeah. See.
I mean, Do you think that Israel purposely dumped a bunch of bread in for the hopes that Palestinians would surround it and then just start killing them? That they would send a whole night unit out into the unoccupied Gaza Strip to do that?
Is that the claim? Isn't the idea that Palestinians were getting aid and then Israel started doing limited fire into the crowd because there was like a suspected terrorist threat or something like that?
I thought, well, the claim that I was reading was, I think you're referring to a separate incident, but I could be wrong. I don't know. The claim that I remember reading was that there was like flour aid or something that was being delivered, and then the IDF waited for hungry Palestinians to surround the aid, and then they just opened fired on the people to kill them all because epic. And it was like and they called that the flour massacre. The thing that you're talking about was, I think there was like a caravan of trucks, and then eventually gunfire broke out in this, and the IDF claims that people started to try to surround or tip the trucks, and then Palestinians claim that the IDF opened fire for no reason. I think those are two separate events.
No, because the flour massacre was when they were swarming the aid trucks, right? And then
I thought it was a different thing, but I could be wrong on that. I thought the flour massacre was a separate.
Well, because I thought that one was where Israel was basically saying they felt threatened, and then because of the like mass.
Oh no,
crowds,
no,
like,
I think this might be the same event. Yeah, I'm sorry, this might be the same event. Because this was food aid trucks as well. Sure. So I guess what is your perspective or your vibe of like what happened here?
I mean, I don't think it's like I feel like what I call it. I mean, I guess I would call it a massacre, but like sometimes mistakes happen, I guess.
No, I'm asking you. What are you vibing out? What are you thinking? Well, now you sound like you're making excuses for Israel. What do you think happened?
What do I think happened?
Like, do you think the IDF went in saying that like we're going to bait Palestinians with these trucks and then we're going to murder them all?
No. I don't
okay. Well, I think that's why it's called like the flour massacre. Is that I'm just taking some quotes here from the head of this Wikipedia article, but it's like survivors described the massacre as an ambush, stating that Israeli forces deliberately opened fire as Palestinians approached the aid trucks, resulting in a rush away from the gunfire that added to the death toll.
I mean, I would say it's probably a massacre in the same way that a lot of our like battles with Native Americans were massacres, where like you can kind of see why there was a battle that started, but then it ended up just turning into a lot of unnecessary bloodshed, if that makes sense.
Okay. I don't think this would be comparable because the Native Americans were their own standing fighting force. Obviously, they were disadvantaged for a lot of reasons, but these were people coming for aid, no?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, wait, what do you think we disagree on? Or hold on, I'm curious. What is the...
about the flour massacre?
Yeah.
Well, earlier it said you said that you didn't think the flour massacre happened, but it sounds like now you do.
Was that the original claim? Right. I thought the claim had something to do with like, does Israel, I don't even remember how we got here. I don't believe, when I say I don't believe that the flour massacre happened, what I'm saying is there were people that died, that got killed by the IDF around aid trucks. I'm not denying that happened, but the reason why people took to calling it the flour massacre, and then the claims that were echoing all over social media was that Israel was like baiting people to aid trucks and then killing and shooting and killing them when they feel like they're close enough. It was like an ambush, or it was like a bait for it. You said you make excuses for Israel. Oh yeah, I was just curious what excuses, because I feel like I'm pretty honest when I describe their behavior. I don't think I've described any of the behavior or like necessarily excused any of it. The biggest excuses you're going to find are whether or not I think they had like a just cause for war after October 7th, I guess, is where people are going to have the strongest like factual disagreements. But
I think the easiest one to argue about that we probably disagree on is, do you think that Israel should still be at war? Like, I feel like they've probably had enough time to accomplish their military objectives.
Well, but I've said that for like a year, haven't I? After they did the push into Rafah, my understanding was they'd ground pushed through the entirety of the Gaza Strip, and then past that, I don't know why that war lasted for like another year and a half. I just didn't understand that. It just seemed silly to me. I don't know if I ever got a great explanation for why that continued for so long, other than there were still Hamas people hiding everywhere. But then it's like, I mean, how long are we going to continue that conflict for then? Was my feeling for it.
Oh yeah, then I think we agree on that.
Okay.
But I will, it's good talking to you.
Yeah.
Also, you always say my name wrong. You always say Devon or Devon. Do you know who I am?
Yeah, you're my wiki editor guy.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure.
Okay.
You always forget who I am, and it makes me
I never forget who you are. I would never
no one
forget.
forgot.
Nobody.
Now get out of here.
I'm sorry about asking about the McNugget sauce. That's my bad.
Way to go.
I will never ask again.
Good job. Got him.
All right, Charvine?
You got it right this time. Thanks, Moon. Okay, so related actually to the last caller, I do think, Stephen, you make excuses for Israel.
Okay.
But I also think it's kind of like where your brain gets broken a little bit through your own principles, or against your own principles. So I want to walk through a couple of analogies to U.S. politics and why you don't apply them to Israel.
Okay.
Let's go back to Charlie Kirk, political violence, and like lowering the temperature. Why were you upset when so many people asked you to condemn political violence in those moments where you kind of pushed back on even being asked?
Because
be the
I
one to
feel
go
like
first?
the best world is both sides condemning political violence, and then the next world, the middle world, is nobody condemning political violence, and the worst world is just one side condemning political violence because it leads the other side to feeling more emboldened.
True. And you also said that there's a power hierarchy where the person in the institution with the power should go first, right? That's your claim on Trump.
Yeah, no, I don't know if the reason why I would say Trump should go first isn't because he's the one with the power. It's because these never do. Is my issue. Like, it wasn't a matter of like Trump needs to disavow before we do because he's the president of the United States. It was more like Trump needs to disavow because, and he needs to do it first because I know he won't, I think is the issue.
Yeah, I think you said both. Do you agree though that the person with, kind of an asymmetry of power should go first?
In a functioning democracy, no, I think everybody should just do it without question of like who said what.
I guess I'm not asking about the democracy as a whole. I'm asking about the obligation of the person in power.
I mean, I guess I'm not, there's no turn ordering here. It's irrelevant, I think. Like, if somebody gets killed or whatever, like in a normal functioning society, if I see that like somebody gets killed, like everybody should say, this is horrible. We shouldn't want political violence ever. It shouldn't be a question of like, has the guy at the top said it first or he's got an obligation to say it first. It should just be everybody.
But I guess if states have some sort of monopoly on violence, is there some sort of like duty to restraint?
I mean, it depends on what they're responding to, but I would say like as a broad rule, generally the stronger party has a bit more obligation because they've got more capability to defend and to attack for sure.
So what do you think about, kind of, and I know you're over the past month plus, like a lot of your rhetoric is changing, but how do you perceive that in relation to the Israeli government?
What is my
rhetoric?
What is all my rhetoric of mine has changed?
I think you're shifting on Israel in general.
Okay.
No, in a good way. I would say in a good way because I'm pro-Palestine.
Yeah, no,
in a way.
I don't think it has. I think you guys are just literally the most brain broken people on the planet. But
you guys, me, I didn't.
As in, like, I think I've had like the same consistent set of criticisms for like a year and a half or longer, and I've had.
But I don't. So this goes to. I wanted to get here, but like I don't think that that's fair. I think you've criticized, for example, Republicans for kind of like dressing up.
The issue is that like as the war has gone on, the behavior has become more and more and more unacceptable. But in your mind, you're not seeing because you're incapable of updating your opinion in real time because you decided everything that you were.
Well, you don't know my opinion yet. You don't know my opinion yet.
I don't care. I've already decided this. No, I am projecting this on you. Okay, you decided on October 7th. This is how I'm going to feel forever about this, and I'm updating my feelings about things as time has gone on. As time has gone on,
this is part of your problem. You're bucketing everybody who's pro-Palestine.
Let me finish my one statement, and then you can say what you want to say. Okay, because you've already said something retarded. So that's what I'm responding to the retarded thing you said. Okay, maybe my underlying assumption about your thought is not true. That's fine. You can correct that. Okay, but as time has gone on, and I've said that my behavior or the behavior of Israel, I think, is less defensible. I think that these things are not defensible. In your mind, you're viewing it as like, oh, this is good. He's changing his mind about the things that he said about Israel. But that's not true. My opinion is just up to, like, if you were to ask me right now, do you think that Israel's behavior was acceptable on October 30th or whatever? I would say yes, absolutely. My opinion on that behavior hasn't changed. But my opinion on Israel as it stands right now, I think the behavior has been significantly less defensible over the past year. But that's not like me coming around to the opinions of the people who have had the same opinion since October 7th. It's not
fair enough. I do think there's some things you said that you might reconsider in light of what you've seen as their continued behavior that would have told you something about their principled stand. But I don't
go for it. Okay. Okay. What's the next part you want to go to this?
So the power hierarchy thing is one piece of it. If you have thoughts on that, let me know. But like that's one of the things that I think I kind of want to build on. The second thing is what I'll call the choosing the bad way framework that I think is happening a lot in politics. When we talk about ICE and immigration, often I would say that we do need enforcement, right? But we're displeased with the way that it happens. Why are you displeased with the way that it happens in the U.S. right now?
I'm going to give you my answers. I know you're trying to draw analogies, but I don't know how this is going to map to the Israel thing. But I would say that I'm displeased with immigration enforcement right now in the United States is because, one, from an ideological perspective, the people carrying out the enforcement seem to be reveling in the cruelty of it all. So I think that their hearts are definitely not in the right place when it comes to the enforcement, number one. I think from a process and procedure thing, I think that the procedures are largely unlawful, if I'm being generous, or like just downright crazy criminal, like when it comes to administrative warrants to break into homes, or when it comes to just murdering, like citizens that are protesting, like this is not good. I think the amount of money we're spending on it is stupid. I think the arguments supporting it are unsupported. Like the idea that these people are hurting us economically. I think the lies that we're telling about the threats that illegals are posing to the United States, and then all the other policy, like our detention of people and sending them to CCOT and everything, like all of the stuff that spawned from it. I would say all of these things are bad things. Yeah.
I'm going to say this in the most, kind of brain broken sounding way, just to, kind of get you to respond. Why does this not apply to the IDF in Israel?
I think it doesn't apply to the IDF in Israel because I think the threat to Israel is a real one. The illegal immigration.
Does the threat mean that you can revel in cruelty?
No.
You said that the ICE revels in cruelty. Do you think Israel revels in, or the IDF and certain portions of the populace in Israel revel in cruelty?
Revel in cruelty the same way that the Republicans do when it comes to
or even worse.
As a whole, the population. No,
I didn't say as a whole. I said segments and the IDF.
Segments? Yeah, of course, there are going to be some people.
A significant portion of the, let's call it the power hierarchy.
Are these is this like the far right people of the Netanyahu coalition?
Right. This is the IDF. We've seen their WhatsApp leaks where they're sharing.
Every single person has been like in the IDF or whatever. Like there are people that definitely, yeah. I mean, I'm almost definitely going to say
combatants.
Yes. Yeah, but like this is going to be true of almost every single like military operation.
So should we be okay with reveling in cruelty?
No, I don't think it's good. But I mean, like, do you support Ukraine?
Of course.
Ukrainians absolutely revel in the cruelty.
Hold on, but there's a different boundary level where I'd still support Ukraine over Russia, even though, for example, a lot of them
I'm not talking about supporting or not supporting. Obviously, I support Ukraine very strongly, right? But the Ukrainian soldiers absolutely revel. Like, we're getting music videos of poor Russian homeless 40-year-olds being murdered by drones, right? Like they revel in it, right?
Right, but then we go back to the power hierarchy, who has kind of an ability, right? And this is where you're talking about ICE. So
I don't know if I think when I'm reveling in cruelty, I think I think to some extent, I think it's a function of your justification for war in going into the conflict. So let me say that like you should never revel in it. Like that's not good. I don't think anybody should ever revel in it. But like in the same way that people clap and cheer when a dad steps out and murders a guy who assaulted his daughter or whatever, right? And people revel in that. They love that. It's because they feel like the dad's cause here is much more justified than
but hold on. That's also, we all would generally agree with that. We wouldn't agree with a lot of the reveling in cruelty that the IDF does. They revel in kind of civilian death and taking over hospitals. We've seen WhatsApp group where they take pictures of aid workers' bodies and are kind of celebrating.
I think that's significantly more rare. There are people among especially the far right in Israel that do this, but I think the majority of reveling you're going to see are people who are under the assumption, right or wrong, that these people are like Hamas terrorist fighters or are significant supporters of Hamas, such that they're helping them in military missions or whatever, which still isn't good, but I think it's significantly different.
You're right, but this goes to a later point I want to make, which is that like this is part of a framework where you often ask, even with the last caller, you're like, what should we do? And I'm the one critiquing these people. You spend 90% of your time yelling about pro-Pally people, bucketing them all in the same group and basically attacking that side of the movement. You could be the pro-Palestine person that has the right solution, that takes the nuanced and researched approach. You do not proliferate or promote or amplify any of what is real on that side of the movement, right?
Because there's nothing real on that side of the movement. The entirety of the movement is poison and is bad. It's dog shit. I'm sorry, but it is. I have no problem if I'm debating a far right.
Wait, can we define the movement? Can we define the movement for a sec?
Yeah, it's a bunch of retards that have never stepped foot on any soil in any country that is even on the Mediterranean their entire lives, let alone Israel, let alone the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, or anything else. Yeah, it's a bunch of people that are fucking retards that have no concept of how that thing should end.
What movement are you part of?
I have no idea. I don't know, the center left. I guess
maybe
for
that's the
Israel.
thing I'm suggesting, right? What if you could, and I'm not suggesting this in a big way, but this is the critique I have of you. You're like going, hey, here are all the flaws in this side of the argument. Here are though all these truths, and these truths are things that you and I, for example, might have agreement on in this conversation. But you do not spend time amplifying, digging into, researching.
But these are loser positions. Nobody wants that position. That's a loser position. Like if I were to say,
how do you know? How do you know? You haven't tried.
Because everybody says it. Because it's already lost. My position would be the negotiations that were supposed to happen at Tampa Summit after the Clinton parameters. Those were a set of parameters.
I'm talking about now.
Shut the fuck up. Now it would work. But those are parameters that Israelis wouldn't agree to and Palestinians wouldn't agree to. And every Zionist would tell you that they are suicidal, that they're never giving up that much land in the West Bank, that they're never letting the Palestinians have their own government. Look at October 7th, that they're going to kill us all. They have to be militarily restricted. And all the Palestinians will say, we're never going to agree to forfeit our infinite right of return. We're never going to make deals with a genocidal apartheid state that wants to divide the lands of Palestine. Like, if that's a loser position, nobody will agree to that. There's the whole issue
with what we want to do today. What movement are you part of today? When you go to these historical points, part of the problem with those historical points is that we're not talking about what's happening on the ground. A lot of the things that we just spoke about, for example, the reveling in cruelty, or
if you want me to give you like a solution or what I think I would push for, I can give you that. But there's literally nobody that pushes for it. Like even the two-state solution is.
I'd love to hear.
It would just be a retreading of the basically the things that were set up by the Clinton parameters.
Tomorrow with Israel, not like if you were czar.
Sure. Are you assuming that I'm the president? I can stop my figures, and this is what I make everybody agree to.
Let's assume you're the president of the United States.
If I was the president of the United States, then I would more or less push on this issue that there should be that the Palestinian Authority should be the unified ruling body of the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. It can't be divided anymore. That's retarded, okay? Once the Palestinians, you have them hold a new election, and if they vote for Hamas again, I don't know, suck your own dick, fuck it, fuck you. You have them hold an election. Once the Palestinians vote, once you have a leader that represents the Palestinian people, whether you do a parliamentary or whatever, that leader then has to go to the United States, and then whoever is elected as the leader right then and there, if it's still Netanyahu of the United States, has to go to the United States, and then these two are locked in a room and they are forced to negotiate on end terms that are probably going to resemble the Clinton parameters. There's going to be two separate countries. There's going to be a slow transition of Palestine into its own independent state that's allowed to have a military and all that other bullshit in ways that the United States and Israel and Palestine can collaboratively work on to make sure everybody feels safe. There's going to be land swaps so that the land and the territory size probably more or less resembles the total amount of land that they had allotted at the end of the, or before the 67 war began. There's going to be some negotiated right of return for Palestinian citizens, maybe 20,000, 30,000 are numbers that Olmert was kind of floating. Maybe it'll be something like that. It's not going to be all 7 million or however many people that have never stepped foot in this country in their life who think they have a right to return there. It's going to be a total abandonment or withdrawal from Israel from area A and B. Like it's going to be a separate country now, so the Palestinians will get to run it. It seems like, for better or for worse, I don't know what they call it, the WAC or whatever situation they've got on the Temple Mount, where I think it's Jordan right now that basically runs it, so that Israelis are able to go and come on the Western Wall, and then Muslims are able to go and come inside Al-Aqsa Mosque or whatever, and they can both enjoy their fucking thing. It'll look, that would be like the negotiated something that would push both these towards. Essentially something like that. And then if they don't do it, if the Palestinian delegation won't agree to anything, then you disconnect UNRWA and you tell them Netanyahu's going to fucking run a train on your entire bullshit territories until you guys are all gone. And if Israel doesn't agree to it, then you cut all of your funding from the Israeli military and you start telling them that we talked to Iran and Saudi Arabia and these guys are going to go both work together and be your friends, and now you guys are on your own and the Muslim Brotherhood and Egypt are going to come and train on your people until you're all gone. And it would be some kind of thing like that. But that solution that I just gave, nobody wants it. The Palestinians don't want it. You do not promote that solution.
I think that solution is great, but you are not.
I've literally brought. What do you mean? I don't. It just doesn't come up that much because nobody wants the solution. The Palestinians don't want it, and the Israelis don't want it.
You are the architect of your media environment. You, for example, have talked about how the media environment on the right in the United States and on social media and with the creators and the influencers create something downstream in the polity. You also impact people in the polity. I'm not
upstream on Israel-Palestine. I'm reactive. I have to react to what comes down the pipeline. I don't get to set the tone for
how you react and what you emphasize does impact the polity that you influence.
Okay.
Do you disagree with that?
I think I feel like these are the positions I've more or less pushed for like a year and a half. So I don't know what you want me to say.
Hold on. If I had the opposite view, why do you think that is? Am I being completely irrational? Am I just like
because
blind?
The majority of the people one is because your entire media environment is obsessed with pro-Pally shit, okay?
Destiny, I watch you.
I know,
I don't watch Hassan.
My media is obsessed with pro-Pally shit, right?
Okay, I don't watch pro-Pally shit. You have to stop making the same assumptions of this group of people. This group of people is a large...
Do you watch me?
Oh my goodness.
Do you watch me?
Yeah, unfortunately.
I watch all pro-Pally shit. So our media environment is all pro-Pally shit, okay? So the reason why I come off as being anti-pro-Pally is probably going to be the same reason why people think I'm cruel on healthcare, cruel on housing, and cruel on minimum wage, just because most of the people I'm responding to are on the opposite side of me for that. Now,
I don't think those things. I am a left of center... Yeah, but I'm talking. This is why you have to stop bucketing everybody. There are reasonable people you could reach on this issue.
I'm not. I'm just telling you, this is the general impression that people have of my positions. Is because
I'm not asking you to tell me why you feel frustrated. I'm asking you why, if you control how you react and what you emphasize, you can't, in acknowledgement of the power hierarchy we just talked about, the reveling cruelty we just talked about, and the fact you see solutions that Netanyahu and the Israeli government are not at all leading us towards. They're sabotaging everything that you suggested should be the solution. You are not influencing your polity to think differently about how they pressure policymakers,
because
other
everybody
influencers.
Because most of the people on this side of the internet already have that perspective that Israel is sabotaging any attempts to work towards peace, which I generally agree with. But then they think that the Palestinians are innocent players in all of this, or players with no agency, which is totally wrong.
I don't know if you know this, but a lot of the way you speak and the way you're clipped and the way you're used and the media environment is used as apologetics for Israel, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Right, so
I would
you
rather
could
be
change
apologetics for Israel on my side of the internet than joining the lump, brain-dead, cancerous mob of
you should
people.
join anything,
Shut the fuck
right?
up. I'm just telling you that I'm never going to be on this part of the internet and start giving a ton of criticism of Israel. All of these are stated. All of the people know these things. Like, there's just not, what, am I just going to throw my voice?
By the way, no, they don't. You say that, right? But if you went to a lot of individuals who are low information and again, your stream is a good example of these people. Hassan's stream is a good example of these people. They're low information on this issue, right? And so a lot of their assumptions can be changed if they're shown some version of evidence. This is like the Ben Shapiro, kind of compliment to you of, oh, you do your research on stream, and I think that's one of the great gifts you give to your audience. But a lot of the research you do are the version that are apologetics because you're fighting what is, yes, I agree with you, a bad view or a bad movement that has a bad set of solutions, when you could be promoting, and when I say promoting, by the way, it's not just, oh, here's my solution, here's what I think. It's also saying, I'm going to take seriously the critiques of the IDF and of Israel that have to do with the same principles I asked my audience to take about leadership in the United States and in the right. And by the way, you've convinced them that those principles apply. And if you apply those same principles abroad, you can see and you can start to, have a call to action that we should be acting differently to persuade a different set of behaviors.
Okay, give me an example of how this would play out, I guess.
Yeah, I think that you should take really seriously the cruelty, the revelry and cruelty. I think that the way that the IDF and the far right, and I've been exposed to some of this just based on where I'm in New York. I think if you highlighted some of that, kind of revelry, the issue is that when we talk about the IDF versus Hamas, right, or the IDF versus, kind of how we discuss Gaza, when we don't highlight or verify or talk about the downsides of how the IDF or Israel acts, what we're doing is we're taking one population, the IDF in Israel, and we're saying, look, we can justify their bad actions. When the bomb gets close to that journalist that almost got hit, kind of 2 weeks ago, or even with the apartheid courts, there are reasons that they're going to want these things, but we don't do it to the other side, right? What happens is ultimately your audience, more than, let's just use the extreme example, Hassan's audience, will view every Israeli action with a sense of skepticism that they don't apply to the other side, right? Or a sense of like, I'm not sure this is what Israel really meant to do. They'll do a lot of apologetics. They'll do a lot of, give them the benefit of the doubt. That sort of thing, I think, poisons your audience against what has really shown itself, which is a lot of misbehavior on the side of Netanyahu, Ben-Gvir, Smotrich, and the Israeli government, because you've constantly told people to be so skeptical. And you do not, I'm just going to tell you, you do not do the same level of research to go, look, I think this about the Flower Massacre, but here's what's real over here. And here's what's, kind of the dynamics of this WhatsApp group that leaked. And here's this, why this is up for the IDF to be quoting or tweeting something to a foreign government. It gives your audience this default where they just do not take seriously what Israel and the IDF do, but they do take seriously because you say every single time anything happens, on their side, you kind of point to and you go, look, this is how Hamas uses aid, this is how Hamas uses steel. And so they go, great, every time anyone in Gaza does anything wrong, it's clearly wrong. That's one example.
I don't understand why I would lend my voice in the current media environment to criticizing, I guess, like Israeli behavior, which I do to some extent. But like the overwhelming amount of people right now who are part of this media environment, like literally don't even think Hamas or Hezbollah do war crimes or don't think that they do any bad things. There's like an infinite set of excuses. So when like all of the excuses and everything else have been given for them, and I do provide justification sometimes for why I think the Palestinians fight the way that I do. I think even shortly after the October 7th stuff, I said, if those terrorist attacks happened in the West Bank, I basically would have no sympathy for Israel. But obviously the fact that they happen on the territory proper, everything is pretty bad. It sounds like you just want me to scream like Israel bad. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, tell me, give me the harsh truth. Yeah, go ahead. Yes, tell me.
I'm gonna give the harsh truth of when you spend so much time with Hassan and the 9/11 statement. I think that's one of the examples of you not doing a favor to your audience.
What are you talking?
Because you just made the same exact statement that he was intending to make, and you know that.
What is my statement on the Hassan 9/11?
Your statement as it relates to October 7th, and kind of.
What do I say about Hassan's 9/11 statement?
You just use it as a way to critique the pro-Pali movement and Hassan as being brain broken.
What do I say?
That's all you do with that statement.
I'm like the only person on the internet. That's why I hate being.
You're right.
Hold on.
Right.
No. You have convinced me that I will never, ever take these semi-charitable positions on the Palestine.
Come on.
I shouldn't. I'm the only on the internet. Stop. I am the only person on the internet that defended Assad's 9/11 take, and I think I even did it yesterday. And you still think I super?
You do it
Still think I super?
You do it after the critique. You do it after you make fun of. You do it after.
I'm the only person that defends this taking my own fan base. You guys think I attack him over this? You guys are mind raped. Can you admit to me? Can you just admit that you're mind raped by lefties on all this discourse? You're mind raped. Then you're there's I can't even. This is insane to me. It's crazy.
I'm having a good faith conversation with you, but I'm telling you in good faith that you do it after.
Good faith, but you're mind raped.
I'm not mind raped. You're mind raped.
Oh shit.
Anyway, hold on. So let's just take this to another place, which is, the October 7th thing aside. When you say I don't know because these people are already convinced that Hamas doesn't do this or Palestinians don't do that, I don't think that's true. Stephen. What I think is happening is they are sympathetic to an extreme. You're right that their sympathy is going to a place that it shouldn't in kind of not understanding the context of the situation. Same thing the other side is doing, right? But the challenge when you say, why should I lend my voice to that side of the argument? Your critique of them that would be accurate is that the nuance of either the history of the region and or kind of the real politics of the region would lead us to some version of a complicated conversation where we have to go like I go to like what we would do if we were to remove aid from Israel. We can't tomorrow remove all aid from Israel. What we can do is we can have a set of conditions that would otherwise have consequences for individual cabinet members in the Israeli government, right? These are the complicated conversations we'd have to have where we go, hey, who is responsible, for example, when you talk about the settlers that you disagree with, right? Who's ultimately responsible? I don't actually know this. Who's ultimately responsible, do you know, in the Israeli cabinet for allowing those settlers to generally, kind of do what you say is worse than Hamas?
Yahweh.
The structure of how the West Bank is set up.
Cabinet member, right?
What?
There's ultimately some cabinet member who would be responsible for enforcing against that.
I think structurally it just plays out that way just because of how it's because in the West Bank it's because Israeli citizens get to have civil courts versus their military courts, so they get to escape a lot of the accountability.
Okay, and I assume that similar to the U.S., there's probably like a head of some sort of ministry that we would be able to point to that say, look, you're not actually enforcing what you might say.
The enforcement. It's like saying like who's responsible for not charging a white person of crimes of owning a slave.
Okay, fair enough. Why don't we decide to target 3 people in the Israeli government about that issue and sanction them?
We should. I've said this. Like I think it was. I don't know if Biden did it, but I'm pretty sure under Obama we were sanctioning individual people that lived in the West Bank from the United States.
Individual people in the Israeli government, in the same way that we did to that one guy, who was flying back and forth, and Netanyahu went crazy for like 3 years trying to get him to get his visa reapproved.
I guess. I was just
yes. Why not?
Because sanctioning members of the government for a policy your country has is I don't even know if that's
we have to take new measures in the same way that in the United States.
I don't know if the West Bank is the most extreme situation of all the U.S. allies. I think I would probably look to sanction
all the situations. I don't mind
nice. What a pointless critique. Cool. Let's just sanction every single person then that does things we don't like. Do you have retarded that sounds? Okay, great. Then we should do that. I agree then with you. We should, as long as we sanction every U.S. ally.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm going to give you as ridiculous a response as what you're saying. Right? This is an issue that is active. This is an issue that is international and global. This is an issue that a lot of people are concerned about.
Yes.
Whether you like it or not, it's not the same thing as if Japan is doing something we don't care about. It's not the same thing.
What about the Turkish people constantly killing Kurdish
people? Make the argument for me. Why do you think I'm not as concerned?
No Jews, no news. That's why. Because nobody gives a because nobody cares. Because nobody gives a That's the reality.
Why
nobody
else?
cares.
Why else might it be? Why else might it be?
Let's see. In my most charitable reading, it would be because in the United States, if we care about our leadership and our domestic policy and our ability to lead the world, we have to respond to things that are getting the interests of our population. So if the United States population is highly interested in what's going on in Israel, especially with the rest of the world, it undermines the U.S. position internationally for us not to hold those people more accountable. Even if Turkey might be doing things that are necessarily worse, the fact that Israel is so much more in the spotlight means that we should hold them to a greater level of accountability because it can downstream damage us. Yes?
That's one good new reason, but the 2 reasons that I actually have, one is that a lot of our support for Israel, not only in the form of cash, but also in how we act, for example, the UN, explicitly excuses and enables this behavior. We do not do the same thing in most of the other cases that you're talking about. So this is like this stuff
fine.
we are a partner
sure.
in.
I agree with you. Hold on. But this is why I would never give the suggestion, okay? But I could. But if somebody were to say this, okay, we should condition U.S. aid to Israel incredibly stringently upon their behaviors in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. But I also think we should condition all of the U.S. aid and the UNRWA funding to the Gaza Strip on the behavior of people in Hamas. Do you think there's anybody that would agree to both sides of that?
No, I wouldn't even. But let's talk about that for a second. I think that's interesting. Why would you think of that as being reasonable as a way to, again, this goes back to the power hierarchy thing, right? We have one power that's a state power. We have one power that controls resources in the region, has allies in the region, has us as an ally. And we have another power where we keep referring to Hamas as if it's like their true desire, right? We look at this people that is starved, that is...
we're not starved. They are
diminished.
They lack freedom. They're not starved.
There we go.
They live in an open air prison. They lack freedom of movement. They don't have their own country.
So you can't look at Hamas as being a representation of their truest will. right? It is unfortunate, and it is there, but it's not a representation of their truest will.
No,
so why
I
do you
can't.
think
There's
it's
not gonna. I'm
symmetrical?
not gonna. It's not. I didn't say it doesn't have to be symmetrical for you to have bare understandings of
You
both
just
sides.
made the suggestion that it should be symmetrical in terms of how you enforce this at the UN.
I think that 18-year-olds should be given food to eat, and I think 4-year-olds should be given food to eat. That doesn't mean I think both parties are of the same symmetry, just because my one behavior would be the same. I think that if we give a fuck ton of money to somebody,
wouldn't that mean
I think
that
we
the
give a fuck
policy-
ton of money to somebody, then I think that they should be expected not to fuck murder and kill civilians, whether that's the IDF and Israelis or whether that's Hamas.
But we wouldn't do that by simply saying that all aid is preconditioned on something that Hamas has power over, right? We would be more nuanced. By the way, I would suggest
Hamas is the governing body, and they're the government of the Gaza Strip.
Stephen, this goes back to something that I think is like how we choose to do things, and I think this is the flaw right now with the right wing in the U.S., tech in the U.S., the global economy, all this stuff. We could decide to be particular about Hamas and everything you just said, and okay, if you don't do these things, here's resources you're not going to get, but then send in aid and our protection, no matter how much money it costs. We could get aid to people who needed it in Gaza. Do you disagree with that? Do you think that if the United States had the willpower, we could safely get aid without Hamas's full cooperation to citizens of Gaza?
No.
Innocent citizens of Gaza?
No.
Why?
Because I think you guys think that Hamas is like a rant. It's like Al
Not saying
Qaeda.
you guys, I'm just me.
Because Hamas is the government of the Gaza Strip. Everything flows through them. It has to. They're the governing body there. They're the government of the Gaza Strip.
What do you think that means? Why does that mean that we, as the United States, with the most powerful, and Israel, by the way, with
How
some
would
of
you
the most advanced
distribute it? They're the
intelligence?
ones that have the registry for where everybody lives. They are the one that run all the hospitals. They're the
You'd have a bunch of registry sites, and you'd send a bunch of troops to sit alongside those sites, and you'd make sure that ultimately citizens, as they're coming in, are protected as they pass a certain line. And if they at all are harmed on their way back across that line, then you'd attack Hamas.
Okay, so we would just do an even more hardcore occupation than what the
Why is that
IDF
hardcore?
already does. Because
Why is that hardcore?
Because you're talking about taking over the region. You're talking about.
I'm talking about feeding people for the sake of feeding people.
Okay, true. I agree with that. That's just based. We should do that.
You say that. Why is that unreasonable?
Because it's retarded.
Tell me why.
Because you're retarded.
No, why?
Because you're talking about entire takeover of a country. You want to take over the country. You're saying it like
I didn't take over. I said at certain sites. We currently have these sites, don't we?
You're retarded.
We currently have these sites.
Feed an entire population of 2 million
Do
people.
we have these sites today? Are there aid sites today?
That function like this? No, not anywhere
Are there
in the
aid
world.
sites that the IDF has supervision over?
A little bit, and all of them are being accused of murdering Palestinians.
Yeah, because the IDF shoots at them, right? So why don't we go instead at those aid sites and do everything I just said?
Because those aid sites are temporary sites that were set up during the war.
That doesn't prevent anything I just said from happening.
Hold on. Are you arguing that we should have set up temporary aid sites to feed people during the war or during like peacetime?
I'm talking about right now. Let's just do right now.
We tried and it didn't work.
What? No, we didn't. IDF
we
tried.
literally set up a whole pier where we were supposed to bring shit in, and it fucking deteriorated and fell apart. That was built, I'm pretty sure, with the Marine Corps, the Navy, or whatever.
Wait, wasn't that like 2 years ago?
Yes, or like a year
And
ago.
what happened? I don't remember all the events.
I think it eventually just deteriorated. It wasn't maintained. There was too much chaos in the area. It just couldn't be adequately
Was it the
controlled.
U.S.? Did we control it, or did the IDF control it?
I don't remember who had full. I think we either had joint or shared control, or
I'm gonna guess that we could do a better job this time using the same sites the IDF currently uses. No.
Shit.
What? Am I
should just do a
crazy?
better job. No, you're
Why?
right. We should do a better job.
Wait. With the U.S. military was involved instead of the IDF, wouldn't we say that they could do a better job?
Not necessarily. No.
Why?
Because you think.
Shouldn't we try?
Yes, we should. We should try and do a better job.
Okay.
True.
No, that's a serious suggestion, though. Shouldn't we use those same sites and then say, hey,
you didn't even let me
Israel,
respond to your question.
job.
You asked, why can't the U.S. do it? You just say U.S. military. The U.S. military is very good at doing certain special missions and at blowing shit up. But you're talking about administering to a region of 2 million people, and you're talking about security, you're talking about intelligence, you're talking about distribution of food and aid, you're talking about keeping track of like the civilian population, you're talking about potentially local law.
Instead, right now, we currently have an inability to address the situation. So I don't know why everything you just said is unreasonable for us to spend and do, because we're currently spending and doing, and there's bad stuff happening.
Anything is unreasonable. I'm just saying that you're suggesting this like it would be trivially easy, and the only reason we're not doing it is because
I don't think it's trivial. I think it's obvious.
Okay.
And I think you could, when you're reacting, as you said, two things, state more obvious solutions. And I think that would help people that you, for example, point to and go, hey, your only solutions.
You
just said it for the entire stream before me. Hold on. You just said the entire stream before me.
I want to be clear. The obvious solution is we just need to try harder to make sure all the people get fed.
That was just one part of the conversation. Don't pretend.
Totally bring it up. That was your part. That was your point.
Hold on. And you spent the rest of this stream talking to people and saying none of you and none of the pro-Pally people, etc., have any solution because you're all dumb and you're all mind all this other shit, and blah, 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 and the only thing you want is the destruction of the Israeli state. I'm telling you that there are people, and you know there are people, you can yell at me all you want, who would listen to something like a more obvious solution and other obvious solutions and other critiques of bad solutions and take seriously the idea that there's other middle grounds. You have asked for it this entire stream of other callers.
I understand what you're saying, but you are the perfect representation of what I'm talking about.
Why?
Because everything you said has been mischaracterized, retarded. You think I criticize Assad for his 9/11 takes? You think that the solution to the current humanitarian crisis is that the U.S. needs to go in and try harder, and then everybody will be mutually
your brain broken over this. You're so broken over this. I mischaracterized you. I did not mischaracterize anything you said. I immediately corrected myself on that. It was just after you make fun of him. Then yes, sometimes you're like, and by the way, he's kind of right about this.
I started screaming at you because how frustrated it is you would bring up my take on it.
Fair enough. So what? You have to pay a little bit of a tax. You have to pay a small tax. So what?
It's not about paying a tax. It's that you can't even characterize my position on Hassan's 9/11 take correctly.
I'm not. Who do you think I am? Do you think I'm a...
I haven't communicated well enough?
What do you think I represent here? Do you think after this, I'm now the person who goes and tweets about Destiny's takes on Palestine and Israel? No.
No, I think that you're an average, probably Destiny fan, but most of you guys are significantly to the left of me on like the Israel-Palestine thing, which is just a thing that I've accepted at this point.
Right, but what do you think happens, right? Because you're going, that's not going to work because all of you are brain broken. What do you think that means?
It's a waste of time to talk about it, and I'm praying every single day that we missed one of the Iranian enrichment sites and that this can all be over soon and we don't have to worry about them anymore.
As an Iranian, I hope that doesn't wind up being the case. But I will say, I think your pessimism about this is misplaced. I agree with you that in your chats, right, I think you're dealing with the most aggressive people, and Hassan's chat the most aggressive people. But at this point, a lot of your social media impact and your downstream impact is through clips, is through other things that are happening in the world, right? It's not necessarily... Why are you bringing up my tweet? What did I say? Yeah, okay, let's do it. You want to do this one?
Wait, did I bring something up? Wait, what?
Who's get someone out?
I see one of my tweets.
I forgot I was streaming in here. Somebody brought this up. Don't worry about it. For real, you're good.
Well, you don't want to do that?
Brain broken. You're brain broken. It's fine. But you also said that you're Iranian. Are you Muslim or?
No, I'm not.
Okay. You're in America though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Grew up in Jersey.
Okay, that's cool.
Do you want to do that one? We can. Why I'm upset at Zelensky for that?
Sure.
Let's hear it.
When we see his language about Iran, one of the things, and the same thing would be true if he said something about Gaza that was out of band, we would want to understand the relationship between asymmetric power.
What did he say in here about Iran?
Let me reread the tweet.
Also, asymmetric power, bro. This is the lefties that attack me all the time that use this excuse like, oh, we're a small.
I'm saying lefties. I'm a neoliberal.
No,
you really can't use that on me.
Can you listen to the words that I'm saying? I didn't say you're a lefty. I'm saying that these are the excuses that smaller loser content creators use all the time.
Don't use lefties next to me. Just critique me directly.
I'm not
Okay, go ahead. Don't be mad, Destiny. It's okay.
I'm not critiquing you. I am critiquing you, but I'm saying that the argument that you're using here with regards to every Arab or Persian or Turkish person or whatever the fuck everybody in the Middle East is the same argument that the lefties use when they're harassing people on the internet, where they're saying, well, I'm a smaller content creator. Therefore, I can say the most unhinged, deranged shit about you imaginable, but you can't say anything about me or else it's harassment because you're a larger content creator.
No, I didn't defend Iran saying something. I critiqued Zelensky for saying something. That's completely different than what you just said.
Reread this tweet and tell me what he said.
Was this the one I quoted?
Yes, hold on, I'll be back. Read Zelensky's tweet. Tell me what's objectively. Let me use the restroom. Hold on.
Obama, shrimple ass.
Shrimple ass.
Hey everyone, this is a good time to say, if you like this, it's sponsored by anything else. I stream every single morning except Saturdays at around 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I do 3 to 4 hours of news. And then when Dan gets there, I do 2 hours of cop slop / drama.
Do you do Vera Collins?
Tune in to check it out. We do sometimes, yeah. And we're going to be releasing Shrimple As merch soon.
Does that have a shrimp on it?
It kind of does, yeah, actually, but
I'm allergic, so I can't.
It's being made. It's being made. It looks good. Here is a it is not done at all. It is a rough markup of what it could look like.
When do you think Israel is evil?
I hate them. Hate them all.
I thought that conversation was funny though. The evil conversation.
No, it was not funny. It was annoying.
It was the first time I think you guys have softened on the current situation, which I think is a good thing.
Ass. I said it's not finished, you retard, and it will be turned. Sorry,
what will be turned?
The thing I linked, you fool.
Oh, I didn't see it.
What do you mean? When I say it's not even close to being done and it's a mock-up, what did you guys think? Does that just mean it's finished completely to you? You sons of bitches.
That's why you never show draft work to your boss.
No more. You know what? No more IP debates. They're done. No more debates at all. League of Legends time. Shrimple has. It can always be worse, you sons of bitches. Don't forget that.
Wait, what happened?
Are you back?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So first, Stephen, I think important context. I came in when I was a year old. My grandfather was the equivalent of the attorney general for the Shah of Iran back in the day.
Okay.
And So I hate both the Shah's former version of Iran, based on my family's kind of retelling of the situation, as much as I hate the Islamic Republic. I think both were bad. The line here that is flawed is no one should be allowed to block such globally significant different sea lanes, whatever, where basically he's saying, what I read this as, and the thing I take issue with, is Iran is in the wrong, and whatever needs to happen next to prevent them from doing what they're doing is justified. That's what I read here. And I think that's flawed because what we're doing in Iran is a violation of sovereignty. Even if you hate, as I do, the Islamic Republic, and my family is essentially were under house arrest for, how many years was that? Like 12 years under the Islamic Republic post their participation in the Shah's regime. It is still true that the sovereignty of that country and of individuals in that country is violated. And the idea that Zelensky, who is at the other side of an asymmetry, would say, despite that fact, what they're doing is so wrong that it justifies further violation of their sovereignty, I think is completely crazy and a misunderstanding of how the same situation, our ability to have sovereign nations or sovereign populaces, is being violated in his situation. That's the flaw.
Gotcha.
What do you think about that?
It's easily one of the most brain-broken, retarded takes I've ever heard in my life. But
why? Why?
The idea
What's brain-broken about that?
Appealing to the United Nations, first of all, which is the international body of law,
you do not care about the United Nations. Don't pretend you care about.
Why did you just say you do not care about the United Nations?
Because the United Nations does not has not sanctioned for the past several years.
Is this my tweet? Is this my tweet? Am I Zelensky?
Okay,
am I Zelensky?
Never mind. Go ahead.
Am I Zelensky? Yes or no?
Yes.
I am
you
Zelensky.
You are Vladimir Zelensky.
Okay, so you think that me, Zelensky, I don't care about the United Nations? Why? What evidence do you have of that? That I don't care about the United Nations? Have I done things to violate? Okay, thank you. So your statement was retarded. You want to seriously engage, okay? So Zelensky is appealing to the United Nations to ensure that the Strait of Hormuz is not closed. He can't do that. Why?
His only tweet about the conflict, or his only statement about the conflict. His other statement about conflict was very anti-regime, if I remember correctly.
Why the fuck? Okay, why the fuck?
Which, by the way, is justified because he's getting hit by stuff, obviously, from Russia that's being manufactured in Iran. I actually,
then why would you even have a problem with any tweets?
Because I think he's missing the asymmetry in the two situations. I don't think he needed to tweet about this at all.
What asymmetry? You're an asymmetry cuck. Oh my god.
I am.
Dude. How tall are you?
5'10" and a half.
Can somebody who's 5'10" and a quarter be your girlfriend, but it's okay because of the asymmetry between you and the guy? This is how retarded your statements sound. Like
I didn't say everything.
Iran, because of asymmetry, can shut down one of the most important global oil outpourings in the entire world.
If Trump had nuked Iran afterwards and a post Fallout government closed the Strait of Hormuz as retaliation for the next 10 years, do you think that's justified?
No.
You're brain broken.
Okay.
If their population was nuked, they can't retaliate in some cases. So you don't expect blowback.
You think terrorism is justified if you're a small enough party? I just want you to know, and I know you're never going to understand this, and that's fine. And for the two people in the audience, every single Israeli will understand what I'm saying. None of your weird pro-Pally dick sucks understand. But the line of argumentation that you're on right now is why Israel, past the second intifada, never listens to the rest of the world when they're critical of things that happen with Israel. Because you will always make excuses for the retarded children Arabs, for the retarded children Hamas, for every single actor in that region to be a retarded child who has no reaction in their kit beyond terrorism and pillaging, and it's all justified.
Okay, wait, hold on. So there's a useful distinction here.
Let me finish, or I'm banning you from my server. You always have infinite justifications for every actor to do whatever the fuck they want, but Israel has to be the crazy adult in the entirety of every single situation. This is unworkable. Right. No sane country, no sane human being would operate under this rule set anywhere on the fucking planet. Nobody would do it.
So why do you think that we should take some illiberal means?
This is retarded. What a retarded question. Do you think it's illiberal if somebody's breaking into my house and I kick him in the face and I didn't vote for it? I didn't have a Democratic panel. What are we talking about? What do you mean illiberal? What are we talking?
Aren't a lot of the debates recently, of what happens after Trump? We have to go outside of the bounds and norms that we would normally adhere to kind of restore.
Conversations about my United States government usually revolve around concepts related to liberalism. Correct. We're not talking about international foreign policy.
What is liberalism about? Right? Liberalism is about power hierarchy and the architecture of a system. That is what liberalism is entirely about, right? And so if, for example, the higher order power in a power hierarchy violates a tremendous amount of the principles they are supposedly adhering to, then you would not be surprised. And you're right, there's this weird word I use, I don't know if I said justified or you said justified, but there is language that maybe I should be more careful about that upsets you around, okay, are we excusing something? Do we understand it?
Why are you saying that? Oh my God, how do you watch my stream? You're using your characterization of my takes. My position is that you're using using language that upsets me?
That was just a throwaway comment. Don't take it so harsh. So, but then we take it to the United States and you say it doesn't apply the same way. I'm not sure why it wouldn't apply the same way, right?
Because criticisms that I make of my own domestic government are going to be different than multiple governments that are interacting with each other on the global stage.
Of course, but the reason you make those criticisms, the reason you talk about changing the behavior around a set of norms is because the norms and the power hierarchy have been violated in a way where you say, look, this thing that we otherwise adhered to in the past no longer seems to be applying right now. And by the way, you're also doing this, geopolitically as it relates to Trump. You're not just doing it domestically as it relates to Trump, right? We're saying that people are reacting to essentially what is a violation, and we don't know what to expect next, right? That's one of the other problems. We don't know what to expect next if we do not somehow adhere back and put back together the order that previously allowed people to act as you would want them to.
Okay. Walk me from whatever you just said, that smorgasbord of stuff. Walk me from that to it's actually okay to shut down all of your neighboring shipping lanes if you have been illegally aggressed on another nation.
I don't think it's okay, and I don't remember how I asked that question. I don't think it would be okay.
If you don't think it's okay, then what would be wrong with Zelensky appealing to the United Nations to solve that problem when that is exactly the job of the United Nations?
At this time violating the sovereignty for no clear reason because Netanyahu forced it or forced Trump to, and threatening to do all sorts of other things to them. Yeah, in that situation, you essentially have someone you've backed into a wall, and I think Zelensky should be kind of understanding of being backed into a wall. And his message here does not seem to acknowledge how this same tweet could be said about him.
But it can't be said about him. What is Ukraine shut down internationally?
I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if we would find analogies, would you?
Actually, there's one really good one. I'm glad you didn't bring it up, so let's just keep moving on.
Could you bring it up?
No, I'm good. No, because I don't like giving you guys stronger arguments for anything.
Stop saying you guys, I'm just me.
No, you are you guys, for sure.
Okay, but what is it?
You should have said the Nord Stream 2.
Oh, damn, you're right.
However, but the difference is, you can see, it really is a great analogy. It almost works for you, but if I mind torture it a bit, it works for me. The Nord Stream 2 is a great example because, one, there's a reason why Ukraine didn't openly take credit for that. Two, now I don't know how true this is, but I think the current argument or position is that Zelensky wasn't even aware of the Nord Stream 2 being shut down. Okay, number two. But number three, the world was critical when that was shut down. And number four, nobody has made any statements whatsoever that were saying that Ukraine is justified in destroying that pipeline. Like you're dick-sucking Iran right now, that is a state sponsor of terrorism all across the fucking region, that is actively shipping things. Like the situation is so unbelievably.
Could you go back to my tweet? Could you press the back button real quick?
Okay. What?
I don't think I said here that we should abandon Ukraine or Zelensky whatsoever. I'm a huge fan of his, and I have absolutely no idea why you would assume that I would suddenly say that this means.
Tweet for real, bro.
Yes.
You're saying this because you saw it probably from Mehdi. Yeah, but I don't know what is so objectionable or condemnable about the particular tweet.
Hello.
Hi.
Can I ask a serious question? I'm trying to be not mad right now, but so Iran sponsored Russia in the war against us. They're also quite literally the reason why we have been attacked by 50,000 Shahed drones, which daily bomb our cities. Daily, every day, my city is terrorized by those Shaheds. So please tell me, on God-given earth, how do you even assume that we should say anything that will be against the destruction of that regime? I'm serious right now. Russia uses Iran. Is that legal? Is that fine?
Do you think that Iran should be nuked?
No, neither does Zelensky.
Exactly. I have my opinions exist on a spectrum, right? And so I'm not suggesting at all that Iran is right in what they do against Ukraine. I'm so completely supportive of Ukraine, and I think we should be spending so much more money than we are and sending so much more support.
It's not what I'm talking about. Why is it wrong for us to not to appeal to United Nations and also support the destruction of this regime?
I think maybe it's the language, and this is why I said this tweet, right? It's the language that presumes that an actor that is currently being pressured in a way that is, by the way, just like Ukraine.
Pressure them.
Look, I get what you mean there as someone who cares about the Ukrainian conflict. And by the way, I probably care more about, kind of the Ukrainian conflict than I do. Huh?
This is the biggest sponsor of terrorism in the world.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Or why it relates to the tweet. Why does that relate to the tweet?
Everything. Their regime is doing a shit ton of.
Does that mean we should nuke them? Does that mean we should nuke them?
They didn't get nuked. Nobody's talking about nuking them.
Right, but this is all exists on a spectrum, right? So just because they're a state sponsor of terrorism, or just because Hamas exists in Gaza, does not excuse every action you take against the sovereignty of a nation. If we excused every action you take against the sovereignty of a nation because they violate some principle of some other nation or some other nations, we would have a problem.
Nobody is saying that it would excuse every action
against Iran?
The question
Did
is-
he say that because they sponsored Russia and we are daily bombed by them and they sponsor every dog shit terrorist organization in the world? Did he say that we should nuke them?
I think it would be useful to think about it this way. The people who have sympathies of a kind for the sovereignty of Iran and the sovereignty of a nation don't necessarily have to agree on what Iran should look like or Ukraine looks like post these wars. But they can agree that right now, these are two nations whose sovereignties are being violated in a way that bothers our higher order sensibilities.
It's offensive. It's offensive. What did we do that our sovereignty was infringed upon? What the fuck they do? It's a big difference, my guy. Is it not?
I didn't say it was the same thing at all. I think you're getting properly excited about the fact that this is about Zelensky's tweet, but this is one of I don't know how many tweets I made. I think he shouldn't have tweeted this. That doesn't mean I think we should remove support from Ukraine. That doesn't mean I think we should change anything. I think we should go further. This tweet was still not an acknowledgement.
The tweet. I never accused you that you said because of this tweet we need to remove
But you
support.
keep asking me as if I'm not making a difference or distinction between them. I think they're very different and distinct.
Apparently not, because you're saying
No,
that
there's no evidence of that. There's no evidence of that, right? You said you are talking about my tweet. My tweet is a tweet about how I don't like the language in his tweet. That does not mean that I'm equating Iran and Ukraine.
In terms of sovereignty infringement, they're not.
That's why I think the tweet is flawed. That's not why I'm equating the two geopolitical situations. That's why I think the tweet is flawed.
You lost me on that one, buddy.
Fair enough.
I don't understand. Like, I'm bringing up what you said about this. You said the tweet is flawed because you say that in both cases this is about infringement of a sovereignty of the country, and Zelensky apparently is allegedly a saint in your eyes who needs to think that any infringement upon sovereignty, even of our dreadful enemy, is a incredibly comparable situation, and he should be on the side of Iran in that question.
I think it would be naive to ignore the fact that a lot of both of these situations are bad in ways that you and I would probably agree on because of Donald Trump and because of the decisions that he's making geopolitically, right? And so when you say when you say what you just said to me, I think you are ignoring what I'm reacting to as someone domestically, which is that Trump is making a universe of bad decisions when it comes to sovereignty. By the way, bringing Zelensky to the White House or whenever he talks about Zelensky in a way that violates Ukraine's sovereignty. And I think it'd be good for Zelensky to be cognizant that sovereignty arguments are good for him right now and good for all of us right now. And so when you talk about what we're kind of seeing in this tweet, it's a recognition, right, that essentially what Zelensky wants to make right now is a sovereignty argument, and Trump and Netanyahu to some extent and Putin to some extent, but that trifecta, relying on Trump, relying on domestic enablement of Trump in the United States, is violating sovereignties in other places of the world.
I listened to all of that and I still don't see, to be honest with you, how it connects with...
What do you agree that he is violating sovereignties in a way that is novel?
Who?
Trump.
I wouldn't say that he violated... I don't know why you said that he violated Ukrainian sovereignty.
He is not reacting appropriately to the violation of Ukrainian sovereignty. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, sure. That's true. Yeah, but you said that they, a little bit different. But anyway, I don't like how he treats that, obviously. Right. That's pretty clear, I think, to everyone. But yeah, it's just not the question that I just don't see the connection between those two things.
So then, even if you then think whatever you think about the Iranian regime, which I probably mostly agree with you when they're not being actively threatened to be nuked, would you also agree that the way Netanyahu is treating the situation, even if you support the potential outcome, right? We have to think about process from outcome here. Would you agree that the process by which Netanyahu is undertaking the attacks on Iranian sovereignty are taking advantage of the same Trumpian impulses in this moment about sovereignty?
If Iranian regime fell...
Hold on, let's not go to outcomes. Hold on, we can't go to outcomes. We have to talk about process.
Process, dude. It's just what Destiny said. I didn't want to be that rude, okay? But what she said, why is Ukraine and Israel need to be the adults, need to be the ones adhering
hold on, answer the question first. Fair enough. But do you agree that Trump is taking a similar approach to sovereignty when it comes to how he is enabling or even attacking on behalf behalf of Netanyahu Iranian sovereignty? Do you think that's taking advantage of the same impulses that Trump has as it relates to sovereignty?
The same impulses? You mean like the same with what? With like Putin or like Netanyahu?
That he does not believe in national sovereignty. It's a power, might makes right, and unilateral decision making by either him or his allies on what nation states should look like.
I don't know, I guess, considering like they didn't really do the ground invasion occupation thing, so it's not like...
Again, I just want to re-clarify the question. Do you agree that it's taking advantage of the same impulses?
In some way, I guess, yeah.
That's all I'm really suggesting. And because of that, especially as it relates to, me being in the United States, one of the things that I think Zelensky could be more cognizant of and would support kind of the national argument happening against Trump here, right? The argument here actually melds Ukraine and Iran very closely. Most mainstream people have sympathies for both. And
just
the reason they do is because...
Just a quick clarification, that's not true. The majority of people that have sympathies for Iran don't give a fuck about Ukraine, but...
I don't know if I agree.
That's fucking wild. Who defends Iran right now and screeches about the sovereignty and how evil the war is the exact same that is mildly pro-Russian and doesn't give a fuck about Ukraine.
No, that's wrong, and you guys are gonna not agree with me, but that's okay. You're both brain broken. So, it's just not true. It's just not true. Hold on.
Yeah.
Are we assuming every pro-Iranian person is just like Islamist?
That's what I said. I said that actually. 100% of them are.
Right,
that's what I said. Good summary. Good summary.
So I can't take your positions to an extreme.
When somebody is never able to summarize my position accurately, I assume it means they understand it really well. Yes.
Let me discard this because whatever. Okay, so then the point I was making was domestically, the argument we should want to make, one of the things that will allow us not only, by the way, to fight Trump, but post-Trump forces around geopolitics and coming back to the notion of a world order and coming back to the notion of UN, is that sovereignty is to be respected. That if we do want to cause the downfall of the Iranian regime, we should spend the money, we should do coalition building, we should get the support of our citizenry in whatever country that would go and undertake that mission. Both missions have the same domestic flaw. The United States is unilaterally, or Trump is unilaterally in conjunction with his, as a person, allies, deciding to break sovereignties elsewhere. And I think it's good for everybody, including Zelensky, including whoever else, to know that domestically, we actually should be protecting the notion of sovereignty. It doesn't mean that we can't go invade another nation or take down a regime. It means, though, that there's process to it, right? We do want to go coalition build. We do want to take the UN seriously and the Security Council seriously. We do want to take the proper process to get to the outcome. Because if we only go based on outcomes, we're all screwed, right? This is a world none of us want to live in.
He appeals to the UN. He doesn't appeal to Trump. He appeals to the UN. That's how it should work. He's criticizing the inability of...
I'm not disagreeing with you there. I don't disagree with you, but... Do you agree with what I just said, though, about the domestic politics of Trump and the fact that sovereignty is something that the United States is violating because Trump does not respect the concept of sovereignty? Do you agree or disagree?
Every concept of sovereignty needs to be respected. There were countries that were attacked for a reason, okay? There were countries
hold on. That's different than respecting sovereignty, though. Hold on. We can attack a country while respecting their sovereignty because we believe they violated or are violating something that is existential either to us or our allies. But we would, because we respect sovereignty...
Regime change and killing the people is like by definition not respecting the sovereignty. I don't know what you mean. Killing the leaders of the country is like by definition not supporting, not being respectful of the sovereignty.
Would you agree that there's a difference between Trump unilaterally alongside an ally deciding to do that and disrespect sovereignty versus...
I'm bored of that. I agree with you. I don't.
You're not bored of it. I don't think you're bored of it. I think you're mad at me, but you agree with me. We generally want the ability to appeal to world bodies and to get our citizenry on board before we take action that is extreme. That is a completely...
disagree with that. Nobody disagrees with that. Steven doesn't disagree with the fact that that Trump shouldn't unilaterally do those actions. Nobody's saying that. Who you boxing?
I don't know why then we don't understand the notion that we want to defend sovereignty, right, as a principle and as a practice, including in tweets.
Okay, listen. I tried. Okay. I tried. I'm gonna go. Yeah. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Be careful.
Thank you, Anna.
Okay.
Oh shit! I was gonna ask her what hair dye to use.
Way to go. Okay. I'm sorry. Recentering.
Yeah.
So What exactly is your issue with Zelensky's tweet?
I think I, again, was reacting to the idea that no one should be allowed to block such globally significant. Yeah.
Do you think that people should be allowed to block globally significant trade if they're being aggressed on in an illegal manner?
Allowed. I don't mean this in a cute way. What does allowed mean?
As in, if there was a body that we could appeal to, like the United Nations, to stop it, ought we appeal to that body, or should we not say anything and just say that, well, this country should have...
We ought to appeal to that body.
Okay.
However, I think Zelensky's in a unique position as being somebody else who is trying to get process to be the thing that wins, to understand that currently what's going on with Iran does not respect process, and so they're resorting to out-of-process means.
So
and again, I'm not saying the word allowed, right?
So they're allowed to victimize the rest of the world then, if there's an out-of-process attack against them, and everybody else in the world has no right to say anything at all.
I mean, help me think. I'm thinking about this out loud. What am I looking for? Do you think I'm just stupid? There's something here that I can't identify. There's some difference in allowed and
we can't complain about it. Otherwise, we're endorsing illegal action.
Well, again, I don't dislike Zelensky. I think the tweet was poorly timed. Right? I guess I get the tweet is poorly timed to me, even in light of what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying.
There's no good time for that. When would be a better time for that tweet? When it's all done and over?
Because this wasn't April 7th. That would have been when he was threatening to nuke Iran. No.
End the civilization or whatever. But
yeah, that's a uniquely look. I'll say this: if you're threatened to be nuked, you should be allowed to block the strait. Probably. I don't fully endorse that statement, but I think that's probably true.
Okay.
Agree?
I would disagree. I think in your worldview, I think the United States should forcibly seize every single port on the planet then, in case any two countries because if any two countries are being aggressed on each other, I wouldn't want retards like you giving an excuse to them or carte blanche to them to destroy the world economy because they're the victims. That we all have to be the victims now of these things. Yeah, I would.
Okay.
I would just say every single
port. Give me a charitable version of my argument. Let's because that doesn't obviously sound right.
The most charitable construction of your argument. I'm trying to think if I want to do the work for you on this because so many things you said are so fucking retarded. There's a charitable construction of your argument, but it's impossible. The charitable construction of your argument is that Zelensky should be appealing to the United Nations exclusively to bring down the aggression of the United States and Israel against Iran because Zelensky himself is a victim of unjustified Russian aggression. And the principles that would cause the United Nations to restrict U.S. and Israeli action could theoretically be the same principles that would restrict the United Nations from aggressive Russian action.
Ooh, I love that. What do we think about that?
There are like 50 million retarded problems with it. The first is that the UN never restricts bad actors in the Middle East, apparently. They don't do all about anything. So that's the first stupid thing. The second stupid thing is that...
that's more like just a historical critique. That's not really it's still a capability, right?
Okay. The second thing is that we generally don't give anybody a pass to commit worldwide economic damage just because they're being aggressed or attacked on by anybody ever. And I think a lot of people would see that as a severe aggression against literally the entire planet. I think that the Ukraine has been appealing to the UN forever for Russia. UN doesn't do all about Russia. They're never going to. I think that the reason why Iran got attacked and the reason why why Ukraine got attacked are two totally separate reasons. I think you could easily justify an attack agaget Iran. I don't think Russia ever had a justification for an attack on Ukraine.
Of course.
So I think the situations are just so dramatically not comparable that it would beggar it would just be very sus for why a person would come out and make that argument in response to Zelensky's tweet. That would be very, very, very curious.
Let's go to that day, right? I guess what does the whole, the unpopular president of the United States, unilaterally threatening without support of his polity and of his Congress to nuke.
He's tweeting that, but Zelensky has never stated anything in favor of it. And this is Iran was already blocking the Strait of Hormuz before this. So I mean, I don't know.
I have a slight preference though that on that day he kind of understands the uniqueness of that situation, and he doesn't tweet it that day.
So if he tweeted it the day prior or the next day, you would be okay with it?
Honestly, yeah, because the Strait of Hormuz, by the way, I do think that there's a lot of ways in which Trump and Netanyahu are making it hard, but I don't think it's a good thing that Iran is doing that. And so, yeah, 100%.
I don't believe you, but there's no way I can prove that. So,
I mean, so let's go to, the idea you don't believe me. I think this is one of the flaws, in general that I'm trying to point to.
You can say that, but along every single step of the way, you have only reinforced the view that I've had that every single presumption or feeling I have about people on your camp that they were all my correction or all my assumptions were correct.
What camp am I part of?
I don't know. Whatever this camp is, it all feels the same.
Do Can you acknowledge that there might be a flaw in kind of your grouping?
Yeah, when there are flaws demonstrated, for sure. But again, like every single thing you've said and done seemed to point that my initial assumptions were correct. Well, you misunderstood criticism I've had about Hassan. You seem to be using these asymmetry arguments.
Can we discard it because I think it's complicated? Because
okay, fine. We can ditch that if you want. Yeah. You seem to be a big believer in this asymmetry argument that appears to give a free pass to every smaller actor.
Do you not believe in some version of the asymmetry argument?
It's not the same argument. No.
In the United States,
I'm just going to say no for the purposes of your comparison because it's such a bad comparison that just because two parties are asymmetrical, or rather, I'll say yes, but just because two parties are asymmetrical doesn't mean that every single standard is changed. Correct?
100% agree with that.
Then I don't know how. So asymmetry has nothing to do with here. Right? What?
A lot. So let's go to...
How does the asymmetry apply here? Is one side allowed to terrorism?
What's here?
Here as in an asymmetry that would allow Iran to close the Strait of Hormuz. Or
I didn't apply the asymmetry. I did not apply the asymmetry argument to this. I did not apply the asymmetry
argument that would excuse Hamas terrorist attacking Israeli civilians.
Did I justify...
Then what are you applying the asymmetry argument to?
The asymmetry argument was about you not critiquing what is essentially a version of, kind of Hassan's Russia, where basically every stream you do a lot of apologetics for the government, where I'm suggesting actually we can look at the asymmetry and know that a lot of the things that come downstream of that asymmetry, for example, the revelry and cruelty, are things that we should be actively critiquing and punishing, and sanctioning individual members of the Israeli government is another thing I mentioned. But every time I brought up any of those things, you're like, oh, well, why would we do that? We're telling the IDF you're not doing aid appropriately. We're going to come and do it for you.
Yes, wait.
Those are places where the asymmetry would say, hey, we have an obligation to try to solve this, right?
Filibustering. Okay, I agree with that, but then what was my response to that? My response to that was I would agree with that, but I would give a different position that literally nobody would agree with, which is if we're going to sanction the IDF for doing these things, then we should sanction Hamas as well. And then that's when you brought up the asymmetry thing and said, well, no, I don't think so because it's not the same.
I don't mind. Hold on. We didn't get that far into that. So let's do that.
We're good. Okay.
You could sanction Hamas.
You're either having memory problems.
You could sanction Hamas.
No. If you don't remember saying that, then I don't know why we're having this conversation. I don't know if you've literally forgotten.
No, I said we didn't go far. I said we didn't go farther than that. We didn't continue that.
Do we need to look up the VOD? No, you said that would be unfair. You'd be opposed to
that.
I
give up. I said whatever you said. I said. But let's go to it.
Wait, you said Hamas. You said I'm a retard and Dusty's right about everything. So then we agree.
Yeah.
If everything.
But then we should. Do we think separate Hamas? And this is why we got to the aid argument. Hamas from the people in Gaza.
I don't know.
How do we appropriately sanction? Right. And this was where the argument actually went, Stephen. This is where the argument actually went.
You realize you have nothing to say. Okay.
No, come on. This is where the argument actually went. So how could we sanction? Because I agree with sanctioning Hamas.
I'm not going to let you do this. You're not. You can't just bring up a thing and.
I'm not trying to do anything.
Then you need to elaborate on what you just said. You said separate Hamas from the people of the Gaza Strip. How? What do you mean by separate? Which is when we
sanction military action.
I don't know what you're not saying anything of substance. I don't know what you're saying.
The aid example is one example. We would use our forces if Israel is unable to do this to say, hey, here are places of aid where we're going to communicate to Hamas that, hey, we're not going to send you resources, but we are going to provide aid to civilians directly.
How do you do that? People have tried that. Hamas will hijack the aid. You have no way of knowing who's Hamas or who's not. Or this is what the IDF and Kogat and everybody already tried to do.
Those versions of aid go back where we have good arguments to what you're talking about, and it might be continuing to happen. But the versions of argument where Hamas are essentially like resource arbitraging are about shipments that go into kind of deep Hamas or kind of Gaza territory. Right now, when we're talking about aid sites, this is not a real critique.
Okay.
The critique of aid sites right now is that the IDF can't actually execute them without shooting civilians.
I'm not even sure what we're talking about, but okay.
Do you disagree that there's a difference between what we used to do, which is that when either Israel or global entities would send resources into Gaza, and Hamas is part of that arrangement or decides to hijack that arrangement and not deliver those resources to individual civilians, is different than right now where we have aid sites where the primary difficulty is travel to those aid sites, access, times the IDF, kind of turning them into potentially risky zones for those civilians to access.
I'm too retarded to follow. I don't know what you're saying. I have no idea what you're...
I think there's a difference in before where Hamas, yes, was arbitraging that stuff and taking it and not providing to citizens versus now, which is we could do it, but these aid sites are IDF poisoned.
Okay.
Do you not think that's different?
I'm too retarded. You're saying we could do it, but Hamas arbitraged it, and now the aid sites are IDF poison. Are you assuming that if the U.S. set up other aid sites, they would be more trusted or something? Is that what you're saying?
I'm both saying that, but I'm also saying that the critique you're making is of an old version of aid, not in a time of war and not with aid sites. This was us sending resources in more traditional trade where trucks go.
Wait, hold on. Are you
into the nation?
Would we be providing not during war then? Because I thought you said you wanted to focus on during the war.
No, now I'm talking about during the war. But now I'm talking about now. I'm talking about right now.
Are they considered still at war with the Gaza Strip right now, or?
I don't really know. We use those words weirdly.
I think there's a ceasefire right now.
Okay.
I think we could execute on an aid situation in a way that would allow us to differentiate sanctioning Hamas, which, by the way, if we believe Israel at all, has been probably or tremendously diminished, versus sanction effects happening to individual civilians.
Yeah, we do.
And then I would agree with you, and we should do exactly what you said, which is we should sanction both. But I think it's important for the second one to happen because the distinction between the two and the power asymmetry is that Israel, as a rich, powerful nation that also controls the resources of the second, can kind of feed and maintain the support and health of their populace during those sanctions at cost to themselves, whereas Hamas largely can't, whether or not it's their fault. We then want to say, okay, the civilians are a victim of both Israel and Hamas, therefore we need to have a special version of how we execute those sanctions for one side versus the other because one of them is highly capable. There's an asymmetry. By the way, I don't mean that the version of the part of the sanction that's on Hamas can be aggressive.
You need to break down what you just said. Explain it to me.
We aggressively sanctioned both Israel and Hamas, but in the Hamas...
I need Mouton to break it down. Tell me what he just said, because I'm retarded. I can't. Tell me. Explain it to me. Oh, he left.
Wait, what happened?
Nothing.
What'd you ask me? I didn't hear you.
To explain my argument.
That we should sanction... We can sanction the IDF, or I'm sorry, we can sanction Israel and we can sanction Israeli citizens because they have more resources, but we can't sanction...
I didn't say we can't.
Hamas citizens? What's the difference? The problem is your positions are so tortured because of how incoherent they are that you're doing every single thing you can to create out of whole cloth a completely different set of standards for another people than you are for the
They are a
first
completely
ones.
reasonable different set of standards.
No, they're not. Not in this case. They're not.
Yes.
They're not. There are some lines that you probably should just never cross. Like people should never be just like doing massive terrorist attacks against civilians for the purposes of terrorizing a population. It's probably the line
Agreed.
that it doesn't really matter. So, and when people are engaged in behavior that resembles that, you should probably sanction them or punish them in some way.
Yeah.
And but you're trying to make an excuse for why the people in the Gaza Strip are somehow materially different.
You're
than the
trying to
people
make an
in the IDF.
excuse for why the immense powers with immense intelligence that manages to do strike forces into certain apartments, pagers in other sides, and the United States has the CIA and all this other stuff, and the IDF has XYZ and the Mossad has XYZ, and you're making excuses for why they can't execute a more nuanced campaign of either sanctions or military, but you can't justify why other than the fact that they haven't before. The only reason that they haven't...
This is a whole different argument now. We're talking about a whole different thing now.
No, it isn't, because I said we should differentiate sanctions against Hamas versus how we provide aid to their people at the same time. If we're to sanction them both at the UN, then it should be with a nuance that we make sure that aid is a tremendous part of how we make sure that Hamas being sanctioned aggressively doesn't continue to be a huge detriment to their citizenry, to the citizenry in Gaza.
But I don't think that that's possible, given that Hamas is the government of the Gaza Strip. I don't know if you could ever completely and totally separate these two
that's where I
things.
go. I don't think that's a reason. Why is it not possible? All sorts of things are possible, right? The United States and Israel both accomplished amazing things.
You're just
Use
filibustering.
military, boots on the ground.
Why do you filibuster when you know that you're just...
I'm not filibustering.
No, hold on.
I'm not filibustering. You're just...
No, please, I just want to mind your brain for 1 second, because I'm so curious why people do this. No, you said, well, we both know that the IDF and the U.S. military can do amazing things. Why did you say that sentence? Like, I don't believe that and I don't know that. Why did you say that sentence?
Because you're saying there's an incapability of them to do something,
yes.
and I'm saying there's a capability.
Do you think that the incapability of them to do something has to do with the lack of the U.S. and the IDF being amazing militaries? It has nothing to do with
I don't think there's an incapability. That's the difference between you and me. I don't think there's an incapability. I think there's an excuse making. This goes to my whole framework of the world.
Wait, then just say that there's an incapability, and I'll explain why I think it's incapable. I don't think you can.
Go ahead.
I don't think you can selectively punish one party inside of a place where there is a government where your goal is to target the government because they can just steal from their citizens. You can't selectively target the government there.
The government of Hamas has never been and continues not to be as organized as, for example, the United States government. If we used boots on the ground as an example, and we used intelligence to make sure that our people were as safe as possible, but also we maybe shot some bullets on the other side, we could,
so you
in
want
a way that is more antagonistic.
So you want a full military occupation then, and a full government takeover?
I didn't say full military occupation. I didn't say
then
full.
How do you get your... What are you talking about then? You're not saying anything.
Partial. Let's use partial.
You want a... Okay, how do you guarantee then that when you get to the Gaza Strip and you start handing out supplies, that when the citizens go back to their homes, that Hamas doesn't just redistribute the food from them to Hamas or take the things that they just got?
I think that you and I, or the U.S. military, or even the IDF, could come up with some really great ways. I'm not a military expert, neither are you.
Okay. All right.
Come on, really? You can't figure out an imaginative way to say, okay, we're going to provide certain types of aid. We're not going to provide certain things that can be turned into weapons, but we will provide a lot of food aid. We'll provide a lot of housing aid, so that these people can, kind of rebuild a little bit of their day-to-day lives without providing resources that we would both agree are high likelihood to be repurposed and high likelihood to be repurposed into dangerous materials or materials that can be used dangerously. That'd be the first framework we could use. The second framework we could use is, can we use these aid sites in a way that would make them safe for civilians to come to, even if, by the way, we talk about them being safe to come to. We're also talking about more of them so that access and large commutes to these aid sites don't have to put people's lives at risk and health at risk and put them under tremendous amount of pressure. So we do more aid sites that are now reliable. These are two things that we could do. And the only reason we don't do them is because the IDF right now is in charge of this and doesn't want that to happen because they're trying to suppress the population. But if we did do them, and by the way, and if we did do them and didn't work, we could change what we did the next day. This is one of the core flaws of your argument is like, as time has passed for years, we've seen the IDF, which is obviously part of the completely unprincipled Israeli government, execute bad versions of all these solutions that they want to do, where they're the aggressor in a lot of these cases, and what we say is bad, we would agree, are bad outcomes. And I'm going, let's just try this other thing. It's the same thing, that we should say about a lot of our polity and a lot of our politics. Let's try, I'm not for free buses, but if Mamdani and I'm in New York City, if he wants to try free buses, let him try free buses. I don't believe free buses are going to work. Again, I'm a neoliberal, I'm a capitalist, but like, if he wants to try it, he said while he was campaigning that if it doesn't work, we won't do it. Like, I just want to run a campaign. I just want to run 3 test bodegas run by the city. I don't think those are going to work. I think we also have seen evidence they don't work before. But if he wants to spend a little bit of money to try, and we need to pivot strategies afterwards, that's fine. The point is to try something, right? And so far, we've only blank check endorsed sets of strategies executed by the same bad actors to see bad outcomes. And you're going, well, your thing seems, kind of like it might not work. Sure, I acknowledge that.
Okay. That was a.
Do you agree?
That was a great.
Could we try things?
No. They have tried things. There's a reason why that whole population hasn't starved, despite the fact that you guys have said they've been starving for 2 years. Like, clearly, somehow, food is getting in there, right? There isn't mass starvation. The people aren't all dying.
Some amounts of food.
Enough to feed 2 million people for 2 years, right?
You wouldn't want to live there.
No. So what was the point of saying that? What argument do you think you were making there?
I don't think.
Wait. What do you think that I think that I would want to live there? Do you think my audience thinks that I said I would want to live there?
I think.
Okay, so what did that speak to the argument that they're not starving to death? Wait. Do you think that if I would live there? Wait. Do you think if I was living there, do you think I'd be starving to death?
No.
Okay. So I don't know what the point of this. So it was another filibuster. Okay. So it seems like
I use the word starving, and you like to stretch my words where I'm not trying to stretch yours. I use the word starving to maybe mean something slightly different than you that I think is still very important. If you want me to use different language here to,
I'm just saying, it seems to be the case that if 2 million people are in there and they're not starving to death, that a lot of food.
Do you think they're food insecure?
Sure. But they're not. A lot of.
I want them to be food secure.
Great, me too. Okay, and I also want them to have internet and broadband and 1 gigabit internet connections to everything. And I want maximum ad revenue if they see.
But what if we just started at food secure?
That's fine.
What if we just started at food secure?
All I'm saying is that all I'm saying is that clearly there's been a lot of food that's gotten in there. If there's 2 million people and they've managed to survive this long, that's all I'm saying.
What if we just said okay? What if we just said it wasn't enough?
Do you agree with that, or is that true? That a lot of food seems to have gotten in there. Enough to feed 2 million people for them to not die over the last 2 years.
Yeah, agree.
Okay, so they're doing something. So when you're like, oh, we just try something and it doesn't work, we throw our hands up and do nothing. Something is happening, right?
Okay.
If you want to suggest other ways to distribute food or whatever, that's fine. But the solutions that you are suggesting, I don't think you realize how dramatic you're talking about when you're talking about a foreign military occupying sections of this country and then having a security force in there to run local operations to try to ensure that the distribution of aid. It's never worked this way anywhere in the world. What you're talking about has never worked anywhere in the world. It didn't work in Yemen. It hasn't really worked in Syria. It hasn't kind of, I guess, working in the Gaza Strip. It just doesn't.
What are some things that you think we could do in, let's call it the next 2 to 6 weeks to make an operation reasonable that would be some middle ground? So I'm not suggesting, by the way, that everything that I'm suggesting.
I don't even know 100% what the situation is at the moment that needs like dire addressing. I'm not sure 100%.
Yeah.
I have what I would assume would be that they need to have elections again so that they have a legitimate representative for the Palestinian people. The elections need to include the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, and then you need to bring that representative and Netanyahu or whoever the current Israeli leader is back to DC or
one of the challenges I assume, and again, both of us are a little bit not up to date, but it's not just like could we get Hamas to let them run elections? Could they run elections? It's like also, do we understand how they would get information about who to elect? Like, what is and I don't mean this again in a cute way. Like, the utility of elections feels difficult to me because there's no politics there, right? In the way we would want. It's essentially a terrorist organization, to your point.
The Palestinian people in Gaza are people connected to the world and the internet, and they know they have politics.
Okay, take me charitably for a second here, right? Like, is the utility of that version of election, where yes, they might find some amount of information, going to get us a lot? Like, what do you think the difference?
What you're looking
is
for,
it the representative to you that is?
What you're looking for is legitimacy. Yeah. You need a person who can represent the Palestinian people, and if they can demonstrate that representation through an election, then that makes them a worthy representative, ideally.
Okay.
But if you just take like you couldn't just take a random person from any part in Palestine, because then there are going to be some people like, oh, this guy doesn't represent me. He's not my leader.
Which is why we often use Hamas, kind of as much as we hate to, right? But both Israel and the United States use Hamas as a proxy.
Well, I don't know what you mean by that, but that is.
No, I'm acknowledging your point. We need representatives, and even right now, we use the enemy as a representative.
Well, because they're the government of the Gaza Strip. But I'm just saying that there needs to be a unified representative of all of the Palestinian people to negotiate some deal with. But again, the solution that I'm giving right there, neither side wants that. So you would need a president that has a vision for peace in Israel that is relatively.
I don't think anyone's even suggested that, though. I don't know that you're right that neither side wants that.
Neither side wants a two-state solution. The Israelis, generally speaking, want all the Palestinians gone. Palestinians, generally speaking, want a one-state where they are the majority population.
So wait, hold on. I guess you just went long term. I thought of this election as being kind of like for effect and purpose for, let's say, the midterm. Let's move away from that. If you're now talking about, hey, we're talking about two-state solutions for a second. Let's move back to today, and we want to effect a set of changes that, even if they are not long term, begin to allow both Israel to feel a little safer, or whatever, or to feel as safe as they do now, because they're pretty safe, at least from Gaza, and then allow the people inside Gaza to begin to kind of have some version of self-determination / stopping kind of the acquiescence to terrorism. What are initial steps? I think this is something, and by the way, the reason I'm asking this question is I think it is actually important that people who are in this middle ground that you probably identify as, that I would say identify as, of like, hey, we don't agree with the complete crazies on the pro-Palestine side. We think Israel wants way too much at this point too. But we need to effect versions of change over the next 1 to 6 months that begin to allow conversation to happen.
The most important thing that could happen would be a commitment ideally from leaders on the ground, but a foreign leader to say that this will get solved. All of the Palestinian terrorist attacks and antagonism towards the Israeli population, everything over the past 3 or 4 decades, all of it has stemmed from a feeling of hopelessness that there will never be a solution to their issues with the Israelis. That's the issue. So having somebody who would come out with a strong commitment that seems to be committed to figuring out, what a resolution looks like would be the first step that would ideally start to move people in a positive direction. Probably, because that's how it historically has gone, but Trump is too retarded to do it.
I don't mind that, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah, but I mean, the voices in the United States right now, internationally, that are on both sides of this don't want this.
But no one makes a good version of this argument, I would say, right? Wouldn't you agree?
What do you mean a good version of this argument?
Like when we hear people say something like foreign nations should, kind of begin by taking some responsibility, which would also lead to some sense of self for these people.
The majority of people that are on the pro-Pali side right now want a one state where Jews are expelled.
I'm not talking about those people. I'm not talking about those people.
Okay, the majority of the crazy Zionists
argument.
That's fine. It doesn't matter. It wouldn't convince them. The crazy Zionists want the Palestinians subjugated.
Stephen, I don't think everyone is on these two extremes. That's one of my points.
They are. Find me someone who's not then. Find me any main figure that would be willing to have a conversation, or show me their conversations about this that look nuanced. Main figure right now. Any large media
I'd say most mainstream Democrats probably.
They're
very almost unopinionated, other than like let's call it ephemeral wins.
I'm talking about people with a strong opinion on it, not people who are.
Hold on, but we can create strong opinions, right? We can create an alternative.
No, because
strong opinions.
No, because I don't think anybody with a strong opinion on this would ever. There are very few people that would occupy the position that I have.
Those people are losing mind share so rapidly, it's unbelievable.
No, I'm pretty sure they're gaining mind share because the crazy anti-Semitic, anti-Zionist, anti-Israel sentiment is probably growing.
It's a barbell that's leaving a useful middle.
Nobody. Okay, all right. Can you
think
of?
If I'm wrong, can we still do anything else?
I'm just curious. Yeah. No, this is why I said we should give them a nuke so they'll blow themselves up. Can you name a single large media figure? When I say large, it could be alternative media, or like a large political leader, not just like a random representative from Idaho or whatever, that you feel has a good position on how to move Israel-Palestine into a positive direction.
Wait, hold on. I think I just told you that I don't think so, but I think that people exist, right? So they don't currently hold that position, but I think they don't hold either extreme position.
Okay, so you think that there's a whole bunch of people that are just waiting to hear this position, but nobody besides me has identified that, or nobody else has figured out that all these people exist? There's this whole group of people that are.
Funnily enough, yes, for this reason. Now that this has gained so much of our or national conversation and international conversation. I think they are being pressured by their populace to either take one of the barbell positions. Currently, they're delaying by just taking the emotional portion of one of the barbells. But eventually, it will need to be, unless and this might be the case, we are in this for 40 years as a both emotional and literal conflict. They'll want the literal and emotional conflict to end. And the current two extremes are not great for mainstreamers to take, both because of the lobbies on either end that exist, but also because they're not great positions. So do I think mainstream Democrats, as an example, which, by the way, I would say constitute a large portion of who will be governing for the next 10 years, hopefully, if we still have elections, they don't currently adopt one of the barbells other than emotionally. So I do think they would, and whether they're actively looking for it, adopt a moderate position, or let's call it an alternative position, that currently doesn't exist, 100%. And by the way, again, it's because it's become such a fervent, this is only true over the last 12 months, it's become uniquely fervent compared to before.
Okay. I mean, I disagree, but I guess we'll see. But I mean, like, this is the position that I occupy. If I ever have a nuanced conversation on this is generally the position I give, but the overwhelming amount of the discourse right now is hardcore pushing on one of the two sides for this. And I don't know.
Maybe here's my desired call to action. It's like, if that's true, and I believe you on that, then the great thing that I think would be a change would be to shift the reactions that you have towards both sides toward this argument, maybe more forcefully than just the reaction itself. And the reason that I think currently the way you react to this discourse provides apologetics for one side, whether you mean to or not, and doesn't provide an alternative to those who might be today or will be tomorrow looking for one. I'm not saying you're the only one, blah, 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 blah. But I do think if what you said is true, currently the way we approach this topic, even in this stream today, is aggressively about the extreme barbell and how they're acting and what they're saying without coherently, persistently, consistently shaping an alternative. And I think that shaping an alternative, again, could be extraordinarily compelling over the next 4 to 6 years, regardless of what pro-Pally people say over the next month or two and what Israel does, is people are going to be looking to get out of this conversation at some point. And look, by the way, I think whether it's a streamer, whether it's alt media, whether it's the next democratically elected person via primary, none of them are taking strong position. None of the mainstream people are taking strong positions on this. We even see, for example, pro-Israeli politicians having to begin, other than the most extreme, to begin to walk back some of their most fervent support. So they're abandoning one side of the barbell. Where are they going to go? Like, let's take an example of a lot of the people in the, I don't know that I want to subscribe to what I'm about to say, but I'm wondering what you think. Where are a lot of the right-wing folks who are currently going through like an anti-Israel moment, whether or not it's, their extremism is justified on it? What position do you think they're going to take next? They don't really have one to take, right?
The anti-Israel people?
But on the right.
Probably their position is generally like just a full-on anti-Jew position, no?
No, the ones that were pro-Israel. So let's talk more mainstream Republicans who are beginning to critique Netanyahu. Right? Where do they land?
They would probably just go to the kind of super isolationist mode that the populist conservative people are at.
True. I guess maybe some of them, for example, would be up for grabs for a middle ground, right? They're not going to go to the pro-Pally side. And they're a good example of, I think, is a large portion of the populace that are going to be looking to unsubscribe from extremism on both sides for the next 12 to 72 months.
So I've been listening to this, and I just really am curious. When you say they're not going to go to the pro-Palestine side, what do you consider to be the pro-Palestine side here? Like the mainstream pro-Pally ask that most people in America have that are on that side that you would say are pro-Pally.
You're asking me?
Yes.
I don't have. I should be curious to see what the polling says.
You don't know? You don't know what the pro-Palestine side is?
Oh, sorry. Hold on. Let me answer the question. I think there's two versions of the pro-Palestine side. There's the version that Destiny likes to paint as the only version, which is the Hassan, very extremist, very kind of anti-Israel and pro and very excusing of Hamas version of things. But I think there's a second, much larger, maybe more silent pro-Palestine side, which is people who again are slightly lower information, have sympathies and kind of like visceral lizard brain reactions toward the people in Gaza, are now becoming extraordinarily skeptical of the Israeli government because more and more is coming, kind of to factual light for all sides. That thing is also, to me, pro-Palestine and large. It's not as identifiable. It's more minority. It's more
Sure.
vocal.
But how would
majority.
these Republican senators that you say, or congressmen, lawmakers, etc., politicians, influencers that you say are souring on Israel, how would they not fall into that camp?
Which one? The extreme one or the second one?
The other one that you just mentioned.
They would fall to the other one, but I don't think the other one would. I don't think that those people have a preferred policy. Like in Stephen's whole frame of like, oh, a lot of these people don't want to hear a reasonable solution. They just want the extremes. These people, I think, would be open because they might default to an extreme right now, or they might just be confused and empathetic towards Gazans. But I think they would appreciate a politician who can very clearly communicate, kind of their anti-Netanyahu stance, which is even something Stephen has said repeatedly. And they would still kind of think of Israel as a long-term ally and would not want to abandon them.
I guess the problem I'm having.
I just want to say,
to
I don't want to hijack this too much, but like the reason why I don't agree with that is because Israel-Palestine is kind of complicated. I think people overcomplicate it, but it's kind of a complicated thing, and most Americans don't care about foreign policy. The only people that super care about Israel-Palestine are connected to it because they're either Jewish or Jew adjacent, or they're old, and so they're just pro-Israel, or they're massively pro-Palestinian. But the reason why is because of all the other reasons they plug into it, not because they have a genuine care about foreign policy. So these people that are like disinterested middle ground people couldn't be persuaded to have a strong position on Israel because they just don't care, because it's foreign policy. I don't think that you can ever connect them to a moderate position.
To piggyback on that, and this was kind of tying into what I was going to say, is that like the solutions that you say that are obvious, such as using the U.S. military in Gaza on the ground to distribute aid, those will not be supported by people who are just kind of ambivalent about these things, right? You need the strong support. Otherwise, the support of the silent majority would be just to be like isolationists.
Yeah,
like,
get us the f out. This is retarded. We don't want to waste our time with it. I think that's what the moderate, because to help Israel-Palestine, you would need an extreme position. It doesn't have to be extremely like pro-Pali or pro-Israel, but it would have to be an extreme commitment. Like Clinton was making extreme commitments to try to solve that issue, and I just don't think you get people to give a fuck enough about it. Just
blood, treasure, resources, boots on the ground. The first time the U.S. and the Hamas get into a firefight, that's it, right? People are going to be like, we need to get out of there, right? It's just not sustainable. Like these obvious solutions, in order to properly distribute aid, you need to occupy Gaza in a way that we did in Germany post-World War II.
I think,
or in Japan post-World
War II.
II.
I just want to interject because I think a lot's been said. So a lot's been said, and I want to kind of make sure I go to the source of the claim. I think both of you would have been right about the American polity and how much they cared 2 years ago. I think you guys are wrong as of now. And we've seen that in some of the polling that I've seen recently. For example, I think it's 53 to 56% of Democrats now say Israel-Palestine is an issue that's important to them. And 2 years ago, it was like between 13 and 20%.
That does not mean that it's important enough for them to have boots.
I agree with you. I'm saying though, if we go by process, your initial claim is now wrong. A lot of people have begun to care dramatically about this issue.
Yes, but I don't think I know for a fact. My initial claim was that the people that care about it, they don't care about it because it's a riveting foreign policy issue. They care because they've connected to it either through the Jew pipeline, either through the old person that cares about Israel pipeline, or through the crazy pro-Pali, pro-Islam or whatever pipeline. That it's not because they've connected to a foreign policy issue that's like genuinely compelling to them.
I don't think anyone connects to foreign policy issues that are genuinely compelling to them, and I think
argument.
they still want.
Yeah, that's my whole argument.
Yeah, but they still wind up prescribing to, and this is where I think this is like the job of politicians, right? Politicians will promote some version of a solution, and again, this is where I think there isn't one for this portion of the polity, and people will default ascribe to it if it feels like it's generally in line with their soft view. And so if a lot of people have a soft view, this is my whole argument, if it's a vocal majority that has a soft view on this, I agree with Wick, your point that like, okay, am I suggesting a very expensive thing? I don't know, and
an extreme thing. What you're suggesting is
I don't think what I'm saying is extreme at all.
It is.
And again, no,
so you might not think it. Like you keep using words like, oh, how like
I'll put it this way. Hold on, sorry. Let me just
being
put this.
honest, I'm being good faith. You can't just say things and then you
are. Hold on. Am I not being good faith? Am I not being good faith? Am I not being good faith?
Be honest. You have to.
Am I saying that I'm sure about the solution, Wick? Did I say?
I don't.
Did I say I was being sure? Did I say I was sure that this would work? No, I said we could try this. I even said that to Stephen.
Of you is whether or not the certain.
Critique me more specifically, right? Critique me more specifically. When you say that you think my solution of aid is extreme, you and I could maybe brainstorm something we both agree wouldn't be that extreme or as risky as maybe what you imagined I said. I'm not stuck to some budget or some specific version.
I don't know if we can when it comes to this region without extreme measures being applied. Again, my
what you mean.
Not for Destiny's argument, if this entirely coincides, but that the American populace is not willing or in a place to do anything such as what you suggest.
Do you
What
think that
we
that's
talk about,
changing?
workable solutions, is restricting aid or limiting aid to Israel based on X, Y, or Z, right? Like, and people have a whole bunch of different things that they would condition aid on, or a lot of people are
Do you think
talking
that's
about taking it
changing?
away entirely, all these things, right? So when you say that we could make a reasonable solution to the food issue in Gaza, I'm telling you that the American public is not in a position that they want to put forth the resources where that would.
Do you think that might be changing? Do you think that that might be changing? How much the let's call it vocal majority or soft view American would be willing to?
I don't see evidence of it changing enough or fast enough.
I just see slightly different evidence. I'm not holding some sort of strong position on the version of it. No, I'm not.
Okay.
Wick's making a face for those who can't.
I am just making a face. I came in here initially.
No, I appreciate the pushback, but again, I'm pushing back because I'm saying I'm not here claiming there's a certain type of budget. I'm saying we want to have certain upstream.
Can you give me a reason why people would want to continue to give aid to Israel at this point? Why would someone want to continue to be an ally and have a strong relationship with Israel? Can you give me that argument?
Yeah, I think there are 3 reasons. One is they believe that Israel is our strongest, both past, present, and future ally in the region. 2, they have historic.
So just to clarify that point, you think because of just tradition? That is an argument that someone would make.
I said and future.
Yes, but I'm asking you. I guess let me rephrase the question. I'm asking you, what would the argument from someone who wants to maintain a relationship?
Are you being good faith with that question? What do you mean? If they believed that Israel would be our potential long-term ally, why wouldn't? I mean, I could make that argument. They could say because of religious affiliation.
But you just said, well, they would want us to be an ally because we are already their ally, which I guess
I said that they were our past, current, and our best past, current, and future option. That's what I said.
Okay. Second point.
Second would be the historical. So there's kind of historical and traditional sympathies towards the populace and some sort of obligation driven off of those sympathies. Why'd you make a face?
No, I'm listening. I'm
no, but you made a face. I just want to know why.
I'm not sure what the difference is between your point 1 and point 2. Like, so
best, past, current, and future ally is not different to you than versus our historic sympathies. Why are those not different to you?
Okay, I guess it's not different.
Those are very different. Whoa, hold on. How are those not different?
Like, I can understand this evangelical argument that might take place, right? Or people who are sympathetic to the Jewish ethnicity and things like that. But it would just tie into the first one. But make the third point, please.
The third point would be geopolitical, which is they believe that it's the best it's the best basis on which to recraft kind of the Middle East. So if we think about kind of our relationship to the GCC, a lot of it, I think, is only possible because we've also normalized relations between those countries and Israel. And so you have to kind of have like the base nature of that conflict diminishing before you can invest in the Middle East. And, I'm in the tech industry. A tremendous amount of venture capital now is raised downstream or upstream in the Middle East. And I think a lot of that benefited from the initial kind of calming of Israel and the GCC in geopolitics.
Okay. I don't know. I just don't understand, and maybe this is my failure, like why we would push so hard against, right? Because you're right. The geopolitical side is probably the strongest side here, right? You would agree with that? Of those 3 arguments, the geopolitical thing? Like, we get real benefits from having Israel as an ally. And look, by all means, I think that what they're doing over there is horrendous. It's horrific. And from a moral stance, we probably should start limiting aid or conditioning aid. We do need to kind of divest ourselves in certain ways. But if we're going to make that argument, we have to realize that that comes with extreme costs to our interest in the region. It comes with extreme costs to tech.
So those costs are already happening, right?
Extreme costs.
So let's talk about that, because that's a great point. I don't want to go too far. So let's dissect that, because that's a great one. So again, I'm in tech. 2 things happened with the relationship of tech and the GCC countries, because we already venture capital already has like kind of a many decades relationship to Israel for funding, and there are a lot of tech companies based out of Tel Aviv as well.
Well, yeah, one of the I think, other than Taiwan, those chips we use in all our tech and stuff, the second place we get them other than Taiwan is Israel, right?
Not only that, but a lot of startup software that we use is just, again, venture capital. There are a lot of venture capitalists who are who commute between the two nations. But over the past, let's call it, I'd say this is about 6 years after normalization, kind of with the GCC, a lot of venture capitalists began to raise money, and these are firms like Andreessen Horowitz and General Catalyst. A lot of these funds that are kind of traditional American mainstream venture capital firms began to have deep relationships with Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia as their LPs, the limited partners in their funds. This is already causing two dynamics in tech that are, I think, underrated to the tech industry, and whether or not that matters in the long term, who knows. But the first is you don't have nearly as much travel going to the region. So a tremendous amount of both Israeli Americans or people who were doing a lot of business in Israel, but also doing a lot of business in Saudi Arabia, the UAE, they've stopped entirely, like cold turkey. So a lot of the capital that, by the way, takes about 5 to 10 years to deploy, so we won't see this effect, is not being raised anymore. You see this a little bit in the AI space, but a lot of those commitments are so large and already happened in kind of perfect timing. But now you're not going to see the $10 billion fundraise by some of these venture capital firms or $12 billion.
To be clear, you're arguing this as a reason to discount our the geopolitical gains that we get. Or
it's a reason to think the geopolitical gains are already being severely impacted.
Okay. Do you think that it would probably be less impacted if we were able to provide Israel with enough weaponry and security to properly stabilize that area in that region?
No.
No? You don't think that we would
Israel?
have... Hold on. Yes, Israel specifically. You don't think that if Israel was able to make to normalize relationships with the countries around it, such as Saudi Arabia, where they were on a path to doing and things like that, you don't think that if they were be able to make that area more stable, that you wouldn't see continued investment in the...
Sorry, you didn't say make it more stable. You said give them more weapons for the goal of making it more stable.
In order to give them more resources.
Well, let me be more clear. Let me be more clear to you then. I don't think giving them more weapons would make the area more secure. There's two reasons for this that I would say are like causal or could be causal. The first would be, I think the reason you have normalization between the GCC countries and Israel is somewhat preconditioned on this notion that Israel doesn't get too powerful. Not literally, but I think one of the reasons, for example, Saudi Arabia is willing over the past however many years to normalize was they thought, okay, we're also all economically getting intertwined, and this isn't going to become a nation that rules us necessarily. There's a coalition of Arab and Muslim countries, so they're somewhat like conditionally okay right now, and I think there's a bar at which they go, hey...
They also shared an enemy, right?
And they share an enemy, Iran, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
So that was going to be my second point, which is that if Israel becomes too equipped, then I don't think that means regional conflicts necessarily decrease. In fact, in their mission to secure, we have seen they're very willing to destabilize the region in a way that is, again, to kind of my overall point, completely stopped kind of venture capital travel to the Middle East, completely stopped the fundraising environment that otherwise these businesses are enjoying. And by the way, hold on, one more point. Okay. You're also seeing the tourism. This is the influencer industry. This is the tech industry. This is like rich people in the world began to use that region as their playground, and that's also stopping. So these are negative effects to kind of the economics and geopolitics of the region.
I guess I'll just tell you why I disagree with this before we move on. I disagree because before October 7th happened and the Hamas attack, things were getting more stable, right, in that region. For years, they were getting more stable.
The region? No.
Yes. Well, in that region, in the Israel region,
absolutely. In the Israel region? Well, hold on. What do you mean specifically? Be very particular.
Sure. I guess I don't know exactly the geography to describe it, but around that area, we hadn't had as many. There hadn't been as... Israel was just much more stable.
Stephen can correct me if I'm wrong, but the places I'm talking about again are the GCC countries and Tel Aviv. These places were not getting worse.
We're not getting worse or better, or what?
Yeah.
In prior to October 7th, Tel Aviv and the GCC countries in general were more stable and getting more stable.
I think so. Yes. With some exceptions,
what were you saying then?
Like Yemen, right, and the Houthis, right?
Right, but that's not what we're talking about. But sure.
Yeah, and I think Iran's mission in that region was to destabilize them and things like that. But they were largely, again, compared to the past, becoming more stable. But one of the reasons that they did October 7th, or one of the stated reasons, I think, the ones that a lot of people say that they did, was to destabilize it again to prevent the further normalization, right? To prevent the
who?
Well, Hamas and Iran specifically, because Hamas.
We don't know. Not that I'd be surprised, but we know that Iran was particularly activating towards that attack. I'm sure they loved it, the regime, but like.
Well, that's one of the
we
theories.
want to be particular, right? I mean, the other theory is that Netanyahu, did a false flag.
I'm not prove it. So probably not.
I can't prove that Netanyahu did a false flag, but I don't think that's helpful.
Yeah, but I think we have a lot more evidence, right?
I don't think that's true for that attack. But either way, I don't get the point that you're trying to make using that.
What I'm trying to make is that we were supplying in Israel, we were giving them aid, right? We had the Abraham Accords come up, we had all these things.
We were also normalizing with the GCC. We by the way,
Israel. Hold on, just real quick. Hold on, please. Israel was not destabilizing the region, right? During that time, you can argue after October 7th, they bombed Syria, they bombed other countries, right? Things, and you could probably make that argument a little more compellingly. But prior to that, at least in the last 5 to 10 years in that region, they were not the destabilizing factor.
It was Iran, of course.
Yes. So again, in that
in like 2 minutes, by the way.
Argument initially was that us giving them resources, weapons, etc., they would necessarily start to destabilize that region. But
I didn't say necessarily. I said that it wouldn't necessarily do it, right? So again, we have to be specific here. I don't think giving weapons would necessarily lead to the mission statement that you gave of giving those weapons or destabilization.
In and of itself alone, there would have to be other things.
And it would potentially fail, which we can see because Israel is not exactly a stabilizing force, doesn't do things lightly, and has been, by the way, one of my personal interpretation of what's happening in Lebanon and what's continuing to happen with how Netanyahu is pressuring Iran is the current Israeli government doesn't want stabilization. They believe that when they're the underdog and there's a populace that is kind of well fed to hate them, they benefit because they get to try to portray themselves as being geopolitically attacked. The way I put this to a friend is the unfortunate thing about kind of what's going on right now again in Lebanon is if in 5 years there are resistance movements in southern Lebanon against an occupying Israeli force, I'm not sure either of those things will be true, but let's say they were, they will look to Westerners like terrorist attacks, even though right now we're upset with what they're doing in Lebanon, right? So in other words, they're setting themselves up.
Acts have been done to Israel.
We're gonna move on because this guy's been here for like 2 hours now.
My bad.
So we'll give Wick and you a final word. Get your last word out.
Go ahead.
Wick, you want to go first?
I guess on this argument is that I think that there's a lot of reason to want to limit aid to Israel and change our relationship. But my concern, especially with a lot of things that you've been saying, is that you have no real path to do that. And every time I look and kind of scratch into the surface of what you actually want, it's always kind of going to lead necessarily to a situation where Israel is either A, dissolved.
What? I didn't say nothing about what thing did I say that would lead to Israel being dissolved?
No. These are last words.
Bullshit.
It's his final word. You'll get your
next. Make your counter arguments after, okay? Right? So
what a bunch of horseshit.
Say you want, these things will necessarily lead to
aid in Gaza.
It's words.
You can't even let me finish.
Do we let people lie in their final words? Destiny doesn't like when people do this. Stephen doesn't like when people do this to him.
I'm not your girlfriend. I get to actually finish when we're having relationships and things like that. Okay?
That was good.
This is a problem, right? The things that you are advocating for are going to lead to worse outcomes because whether you realize it or not, whether you intend it to happen or not, that's what I believe will happen. I think that you give infinite charity to one side and no charity to the other, and we have to recognize that this is a maximally complicated situation. There is no simple solution here. Everything that we want to do in there is going to take so much blood, treasure, and time from the U.S. It's probably not worth doing. And that's the long and short of it, man. We got other fish to fry.
All right, Shavine, go ahead. Your final words.
Yeah, I don't think that trying to go through maybe resource intensive or emotionally intensive movements to provide aid in Gaza would necessarily lead to the dissolution of Israel. I think that's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard in my life. I think we are afraid to do things, and yet things are going to happen anyway. And so one of the things we have to decide is, yes, it might mean investment. It might mean, getting a coalition together, both domestically and internationally. It might mean the cost of lives, but lives and money are already being spent. Geopolitics is already being ruined. And so one of the things that I want to happen is that we start to make proactive choices instead of being, as a polity, and when I say the polity, I mean the United States domestically, but then also a lot of people internationally who don't like what's happening now and also don't like what the extreme barbell of any side would vote for, would look and be willing to invest in another option, somewhat because we already have these consequences anyway because of the powers that be in every situation doing what they want to do. And so I think instead what I'm suggesting is people would look for a different solution, would look for a middle ground solution, if only we would more definitionally provide it. And I'm not sure about any of the things I've said on this conversation. I think they're better ideas than what's happening today. And I think they'd move us towards behavior change in these regions that might lead to better outcomes. And that's what I've got to say.
Notice how you got to finish with me, right?
Thank you.
Because I let them finish.
Good job.
You're welcome.
It's been great, Shervin. We'll have you next time. Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Wick. Thanks, Steven.
Ciao.
Yeah, I just basically wanted to show and prove to everyone that I did shave my beard, so I don't know if you want to put me up on screen for a minute.
We did. We saw. Good job. We're proud of you. You're beautiful.
Love you all.
You're always beautiful. And yeah, thank you so much. You wanted this move.
Knightley, are you here? You ready?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hi. So I'm curious about more on the Israel and Dakhla.
You got to figure your microphone. I'm not turning you up. Figure your microphone out.
Is it better? Is it better now?
Yes, a little. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. I can turn it up if you want to more.
No, this is adequate. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So, yeah, I'm curious about how you view the military actions of Israel, like maybe not as a whole, but more like how they conduct their business. One of the main things that people talk about is like the roof knocking thing and just, evacuation orders and just telling people like, yeah, get out of here, we're going to strike here. And it seems like this is like a moral choice of like, oh, we don't want to kill civilians, so just get out of there. But I always feel like it seems a little bit fear-mongering among the civilian population, because it doesn't always hit those people that get warned to evacuate. So sometimes it's like a bigger region, or they call phones of people that are actually not in the region and telling them to evacuate. So I always felt like the whole situation is more like meant to instill fear and less about actually preventing civilians. What do you feel?
I don't know the number of, I haven't even heard this claim before, so I don't know the percentage of calls that are said to be going to places that aren't actually being bombed. I mean, I would be opposed to them probably doing that.
It's not just that. Like, I mean, currently it's mostly in Lebanon happening. Like, the whole regions are like, just get out of there. We're going to basically invade. And I think they did some of that in Gaza as well. In the past, it was always like, first we just strike small munitions, so we just get out of there, and then they strike with a big one. They stopped that after a while. But I always felt like the whole argument that this is like a moral choice, it always felt more like, oh, we're going to strike here anyway. We already calculated civilian losses into the strike. You can get out of there if you want, but actually we don't really care. But because I'm not sure if the actual people, like, I don't think.
Well, I mean, I mean, if the people don't leave, they're still going to bomb it, right? Or if so, I mean, whether they check or not, I imagine that would be their plan. But do you think they just shouldn't give any heads up at all, or would that be the better choice? Or
no, I don't think it's about giving heads up or not. I just feel like it's more like because I don't.
So, well, then do you think they shouldn't do it then? I mean, should they just stop?
I don't think most strikes are like if they can hit like a general somewhere in Iran with a precise strike in the apartment, the same way that they did in Lebanon a few times over, like they can do that, but they also just destroy whole apartments in Beirut because why not? So I always have like this. I don't understand why in some cases they were like really precise. We can get this car, we can get this guy on a motorcycle, but we also just like, okay, we're gonna strike a whole building that most likely maybe didn't even have weapons, but just Hamas members. So I'm always curious of how there's so many different styles of attacks happening that are, I don't see the reason, and it always strikes more like we want to make people afraid of us and not actually having a purpose.
I mean, there's a couple things. One, I would say that I don't know if Israel would embark on a campaign like that, because I don't know if that's ever worked for them or if that would like discourage people from attacking them. Number one. Number two, I don't know if I would necessarily, I would have to look into it because I just haven't followed this recently, but as a principle, attacking into Lebanon is a lot different than attacking Gaza. I don't know if I agree with Israel attacking Beirut at all. Like, I think there are arguments for southern Lebanon where Hezbollah actually was, but I don't know if like them attacking Lebanon is basically they're at war with the country of Lebanon. That just seems a lot more, much further along. I just haven't heard enough to know why I would support that action. So I think just like principally I would be opposed to almost all those strikes.
Good to hear. But even in Gaza, they were like.
But this position, this just sounds like a lose-lose position then, where it's like if they weren't warning people, we would accuse them of trying to maximize civilian deaths. But when they do warn people, it's just terrorism. But I mean, like, it's always going to be like attacking a country, being at war, and bombing places is always going to be scary, like to the civilian population, no matter what, right?
But then how do you feel like then after more or less forcing the whole city to be evacuated, more or less, when they move in, then just bulldoze anyway everything afterwards, it's more secure that go building to building. Then I'm always curious, like that could technically be a war crime to just eradicate civilian buildings, even though there's no more threat coming from them. So I'm always yeah, because in Lebanon we see the same thing as well. Like they just push everyone out and then just destroy whole villages without anyone there anymore. They literally go in there and plant explosives to destroy the buildings. And I would consider that like very close to a war, because you're not allowed to just destroy civilian buildings just because they could use later military purpose.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
And I feel like they did the same in Gaza.
I would have to. I would have to know the rationalization.
Possible.
I would have to know the rationalization for why they're hitting what they're hitting. It's difficult because there are. It's difficult because there are reasons why you could do this that could be justified, but there's not really like an oversight board to know if they're being honest about it. So it's hard to say.
Yeah,
I just can't.
That's the main issue I have. There is no outside observer telling us if this is the correct way that they're doing it, or if it's just randomness sense, or if it's just purely for destruction. Because right now, I feel like the same that happened in Gaza for like, yeah, we destroy whole cities so they don't come back here. The same thing happens now in Lebanon. It's like we destroy every city that we conquer to make sure that they will come back. And I feel like that has always been their way of fighting, I feel. So that's always the reason why I'm more against this war is mostly because history has taught us that the way that Israel fights is just push them out as far as possible, destroy so they don't come back. And so I always feel like that is my main reason why I'm against any of their actions mostly. And that's why I have been critical of them for a long time, like even before you probably started about. So I'm curious how you feel about how they conduct war versus are they justified to conduct?
I mean, generally speaking, I think they try to conduct war in not a way, but I mean, especially if you're Lebanese, I mean, you're not going to be of that opinion, because I think Israel is probably some of the worst conduct I think that Israel has ever been committing has probably been in Lebanon, right? The names of the Sabrilla and Shantilla, whatever the fuck that massacre or whatever was, that was in Lebanon, right? During the first, yeah, and that was during the, I forget the dates now, the first war in the 80s?
Yeah, somewhere.
And then I believe it was during the first war in Lebanon. I don't think it was in 2006. I think it was in the first war in Lebanon, where Israel was trying to commit to this idea of basically dropping leaflets in Beirut saying that the only reason we're bombing you is because Hezbollah is there, with the idea being that the Lebanese population would reject Hezbollah, but all it did was it made them hate Israel. So
they literally said the Christian cities to push out the
yeah, so I think Israel's tried this in Lebanon in the past. So I mean, like, I feel like if I was Lebanese, I would probably fucking hate the way that Israel conducts war, because I feel like some of their worst conduct has been in Israel, or from Israel has been in Lebanon. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I mean, most of that behavior seemed pretty stupid. But then it's also it sucks that Hezbollah for the longest time basically ran, everything near the Litani and like south of that country. And it's even, I think, a little bit part of your parliament now, right? Like it's an elected party that has people.
I mean, they're technically separate.
Sure. There are members of like, am I making this up? There were members of like the Hezbollah party in your parliament?
In mine?
Are you Lebanese?
No.
Oh, I thought you said you were from Beirut. I thought I heard you say that. I'm sorry, my bad.
The thing is how the parliament works in Lebanon is also a little bit insane, because they kind of have to have all the sects represented in the parliament, so they cannot really vote for anyone else technically than Hezbollah. So so it's a little bit of a mess anyway.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. But
the thing, but that's why I'm mainly against all these actions, because just looking at the past and the whole history region, I always felt like that Israel. I mean, you said it as much that if something happens to Israel, they will fight back, and they will fight back hard. So it's always the same. When something happens against Israel, then my personal immediate realization is that a lot of people will now die, and not Israel.
Sure.
So that's why I'm like a little bit allergic to anything happening in the region, and I'm not even like agreeing with anything of Hamas is doing or Hezbollah, but it's always like, now civilians will be suffering again, because no one is going to stop Israel from doing what they do.
Sure. I guess the question is like, what do we do about the situation is a lot different now, but like say go back 5 years ago, what do we do about Hamas and Hezbollah?
I think the same way we kind of acted with ISIS, with all the strikes that happened in Europe.
Well, hold on.
mean,
the dealing with ISIS was like a full coalition of different countries invading, conquering, throwing them out, and also like a massive civil war that led to the failure of the Syrian state, no?
yeah, but beside France that was striking ISIS targets in Syria, and none of the European states was like, oh, now we're going to invade the region to make sure that ISIS, it's not like there was nothing happening from Europe, but Europe was more like, okay, this shit happens, we probably bomb a few of the targets there, but we're not going to invade. Like, it's not like the US was like, oh,
well,
yeah,
but they didn't have to invade because
9/11
everybody else
happened.
was invading, no? Like you had the Kurds, you had the FSA, you had so many different factions in the Middle East.
Oh yeah, we were
and the Iraqi
supporting
army.
them. Yeah, we were supporting the fight. Yeah, of course we did that.
So like for,
but it's the same with this. But it's the same with, I think, with Israel.
but
Like,
aren't we
I'm not
treating? Wouldn't we be
saying-
treating them the same if we just supported Israel fighting against? Wouldn't that just be exactly where we are now?
I mean, it sounds like really insane to say this out loud, but sometimes it's the same with the Rabin assassination and all the small little terror attacks that happened in Israel. I always feel like at some point you kind of have to accept that this shit will happen. But when you overreact, even more shit will happen in the. It sounds really shitty to say it out loud, but it's like I always feel like the overreaction to terror attack will cause more issues in the long run.
Sure, but I mean, if you look at but like the United States like tore up the Middle East for 2 decades because of a per capita much smaller terrorist attack than 9/11 in the U.S. You had all of Europe that were clamoring for the destruction of ISIS based on the per capita much smaller terror attacks that were happening throughout Europe. How do you get to a state where you just tell Israel that they just have to sit and take it?
Yeah, but but it's not like I'm supporting. I'm like in support of the Afghanistan war. Like I
know, but I'm just saying that like no other country on the planet would endure those types of attacks ever. And so if you look at Israel and you chiefly and universally tell them like you guys are gonna have to do something that nobody else does, I think Israel just says that. Like that's not realistic, right?
I get your point, but you can also agree that what they're doing right now is probably not reducing the amount of hatred against Israel.
Hatred, no, but like attacks against them, maybe. I mean,
I don't know. It's been 50 years, and October 7th was basically the worst thing that happened.
Yeah, October 7th was bad, but like they're fighting Palestinians that are supported only now by Iran, and that whole leadership is dead. Before, I mean, in the beginning, it was every Arab state, and then it morphed into Palestine being chiefly supported by the surrounding Arab states, by Egypt, by Syria, by Jordan. And then it changed to the Palestinians being supported by Hezbollah, the Houthis, kind of Yemen. And now it's just Hamas supported by, I don't even know who the fuck is left. So like the Israeli situation has improved. October 7th was a big attack.
But terror attacks don't need fully funded military.
The Hamas one was, that was a lot of, yeah, but like I think Israel would be okay with a truck compared to like October 7th.
Okay, so you feel like if the terror attacks are not as horrible, they wouldn't overreact and they were like, okay, we let the Gazans come to work in Israel continuously.
Well, no, I think Israel has a policy of like overreacting by policy, like they want to, yeah.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, saying that the issue is that people always have all these criticisms for the Israeli side, but the reason why all of these criticisms tend to fall on deaf ears is because an Israeli will ask, okay, well, what do we do about all these terrorist proxies in the region? And listen, I love and respect you, and you sound like a friendly European, but the answer you gave was insane, that you just kind of have to tolerate terrorist attacks, nonstop rockets from murdering. But when I say insane, no other country on the planet would be expected to endure that ever.
But what happened in Ireland when they decided that there's going to be? Did they punish all the terrorists?
I don't know what the super resolution was to that, but I mean that was a huge effort on the behalf of, again, America, on Clinton to negotiate. It was a really, 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 really big deal for both sides of this. No,
but were any of the terrorists punished?
I don't know if they were punished, but they finally had peace with each other. No.
Yeah, I think they pretty much even released some.
Yeah, but what about it? We don't have peace between Israel and Palestine right now, no?
Oh, no. I'm just saying, like the letting go argument is not something that didn't exist in the.
No. Hold on. They didn't let it go. They reached a resolution to their issue. There was a deal. It was a Good Friday Agreement. There was a deal that was made to allow these two places to live without continually bombing each other, right?
Yeah, but people were not punished for their act.
Yeah, but they were fighting back and forth, weren't they?
Okay, so you would say if they found some kind of peace deal, you would be fine with saying, okay, we let Hamas people live? I don't think Israel would be fine.
I don't care if they would be fine with that. They'd have to, and there would be way more support.
Okay.
Right? If they have a formal agreement with each other, and then there's like some sketched out agreement and territorial arrangement or whatever, yeah, Israel would have to be okay with it.
Okay. So you would be in favor if there would be peace, that if Israel would be like punishing Hamas afterwards?
Well, they can't. They have to be. They would have an agreement, right? Yeah.
Okay.
But it seems like nobody has any kind of like like scenario where that conflict is like mediated on the other side. It's only calls for.
But as in with the last discussion, I don't think that the U.S. should be there trying to force on Europeans.
Well, I think the U.S. kind of has to because nobody in that region is going to do it. Like even for Ireland, it took the United States. I think it took the U.S. involvement to finally get these sides to stop bombing each other all the fucking time.
Yeah, but Ireland is not, I would say, culturally so far away the U.S. as I would argue the Arabs.
What about the Serbians that we made stop their bad shit?
I mean, the Serbians are also not very happy now after this, right?
Sure, but I mean, they're not all killing each other like they were before, right?
Yeah, but okay, but it's also not the biggest.
It was much bigger than what was there before. I think it's a relatively peaceful. Yeah,
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm not disagreeing with that. But I'm feeling like the region needs definitely some kind of intervention from the surrounding nations. Are like, okay, we will try, and most likely with the UN, because otherwise it will not. But I also feel like Israel doesn't want the UN on their side. They don't want.
True, but I mean that's also because the UN seems to always have like just the most unhinged positions related to Israel. Because that same question I'm asking: what do we do about the neighboring people?
Yeah, but
there's never anything to be done about them.
But even
apparently.
if there is UN forces on the ground in Israel, like what would they do? Like they're not going to kill Israelis, right? So.
Well, sure, but it seems like UN forces in the past, when they were UN forces in the Sinai, like Nasser just dispelled them. He said, "Get the fuck out," and then everybody's like, "Oh well, fuck us, I guess," and they're just gone.
But why would there no UN forces on the Israeli side doing that?
Because Israel wasn't the one shutting down the Strait of Tiran or whatever. They weren't the one trying to shut down the waterways. Also, I don't think anybody lived in the Sinai. This was like a fucking empty. This is like a desert.
Yeah, I mean afterwards they were trying to settle. They do what they do.
Sure.
I just feel like for the future.
Isn't there? People are saying also, are there UN forces in Lebanon as well? Because if so,
UNIFIL.
Yeah.
UNIFIL, yeah.
So it seems like they didn't do much to keep Hezbollah.
UNIFIL is like even there, Israel was not happy with them to be there.
Well, but
and secondly, the deal was really shitty because UNIFIL can't do anything without the Lebanese government telling them to. And obviously, the Lebanese government can't tell them to do anything because Hezbollah is more powerful. So it's kind of shitty situation for UNIFIL because they can't do anything. They just sit there and eat good. So that's basically what they do.
All right, we're going to final words.
All right.
Thank you, Knightley.
Thanks,
Knightley.
buddy.
Final words. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with a lot with Destiny. I just feel like I think the more moral and ethical arguments are sometimes like brushed away because of saying, oh, Israel is probably the best country to support in the region. But I don't think that's in my opinion a good argument. And yeah, I just also
okay.
Yeah, all good.
Oh.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
You want more, or are you flattened enough?
Jesus. Maybe if chat.
One more.
Ask chat if they want one more.
More? Because we're gonna have to do more tomorrow. Yeah.
Why do we have to do more tomorrow?
Oh man, we've only gotten through 3 people today. There's hundreds waiting.
3 people?
4 maybe? Yeah, that guy was in here for like 2 hours, dude.
I feel like we've gotten through like 7 or 8 at least. No.
I think maybe 6 or 7.
Good one. Mouton. Good one.
Yeah, good one.
It wasn't that good.
Esmed. Jesus Christ, dude.
True. That's what you know. What? That's how I feel. True.
Esmed, are you?
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Too
yeah,
loud.
classic tier 4 mic.
Turn it down. Jesus. Do you guys not talk on Discord? Do you not do anything on Discord? Is this just?
No, I moved my mic around. Is that better?
No, it needs to be turned down. Turn it down a little, like 20%.
Turn it down.
You're just smacking the.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry. All right. Is that better?
Dude.
Bro.
No? There?
Yeah, it's good. Now it's good.
All right. I wanted to talk a little bit about Zoran Mamdani.
Are you Jewish?
I feel like you always group.
Wait, where are you?
Zoran
What are you?
with
Wait. Are you, can you not hear me? Does this headphones not work? Am I getting trolled?
Sorry.
You know what today is, right?
Okay. Where do you live
It's
and
Juday.
what is your where do you live and what's your ethnicity? Just so I can understand.
I'm white. I live in America.
Are you in New York?
Like, are you a New Yorker? Okay. Go. What do you got?
Wait, we're doing Israel-Palestine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait. Why are we talking about Mamdani?
He's pretty related to Israel-Palestine. That's.
Are you gonna tie it in?
How?
Yeah.
Okay,
no,
he's
we're
gonna tie it
gonna,
in.
we're just
tie it in.
gonna talk about a grocery store. All right. So I don't know. Zoran Mamdani. He doesn't seem to really like group in with like AOC or Bernie Sanders.
Okay, this isn't about Israel-Palestine.
He seems to be more radical. He seems to
not kicking
like
him.
I don't know,
Jew.
Why is he not kicking him?
He wasn't able to say that wasn't okay.
Wait, he wasn't able to say. Wait. He wasn't able to say what wasn't okay.
He wasn't able to say that like globalize the anti.
He literally did. He literally disavowed this later on. He literally said that.
He didn't disavow globalize the intifada. Did he?
Initially, he
just had
didn't, but he did eventually. He said, "Yeah, that's not a good phrase. He understands where it comes from." He talked to his Eisensteins or whatever the fuck, and then they all were chill on it.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, like
There
he's
you
got
go.
plenty of
All right, you're outta here.
employees. That
The
have
reality
said
is that I just want
anti-Semitic
to.
stuff.
This is my honest take. Really, I'm so sick of MAGA and everything else. I want Sharia law, and I want the Islamists, and I'm
Yes,
facilitating them into this
sir.
country so that they can take over. That's what I want.
I mean, hell.
Dalul.
I don't
Let's
want
go.
Sharia law. That.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
No.
We said yes.
Yes, we can hear
Oh,
you.
sorry.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
Holy shit. Okay, sorry. Let me start from the beginning, and then we
It's a
can
good place
wrap
to
up.
start. Yeah.
Get your question in the first 30 seconds. Go.
Okay. My first question is, do you think Palestinians or like Lebanon in general, I guess you can wrap it up, deserve sovereignty?
Hold on. You're Lebanese, like by birth, like
Yeah.
in the U.S., or where are you from?
Yeah, no. I was born in Lebanon. I have my Lebanese passport right next to me.
Okay, and
so
Lebanese and Palestinian people are wrapped up in the same question to you
well,
for this?
I kind of wrap them together, but okay, wait. Let me, because this was unexpected, so let me
Okay.
just breathe for a second.
Yeah, no problem.
Because
You're
I do
good.
want to give you like a quick argument
You're
that
good.
is actually like legit.
Okay.
Okay. My first like thing that I want to touch on just from besides this is that saying that Hezbollah, in my opinion, is not a proxy of Iran. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I guess it depends on how you define proxy. I mean, they get a ton of external support from them, but I mean, they also
Yes,
exist on
I
their
do,
own.
but
Yeah?
I would argue that yeah, like if Iran didn't exist, that they would find funding from somewhere else.
I don't know about that, but I know that Hezbollah would definitely carry on. Before, I think it would have been from
Yeah.
Assad, but now, I mean, but they would exist. It doesn't sound matter, sure, yeah.
Okay. So I just wanted to get that out of the way.
Sure.
But my initial argument is that if you believe that Palestinians deserve sovereignty, and if you believe that like there should be a Palestinian state in some form, like do you disagree? Or because I'm a one-stater, but I don't really care what that state is called, and I don't care what anything happens is. I just want the violence to stop and people to like get together, and I don't think that that's possible without some form of UN takeover and complete demilitarization of the area to force people to actually like just get along with each other. I know it sounds like super like kumbaya, but like in the same way that like
Okay, how did Lebanon turn out with the trifecta thing, religious shit, where it's like we're gonna make this work?
It's
So how do you think Israel would turn out if they were like, okay, we're going to do 50-50?
Yeah, but I don't think that, because this is not like the way that Lebanon is done is still from like a colonial passed down from a French guy.
Yeah, but what you're talking about would also be like a
colonial.
You literally said the West would have to come in and demilitarize it all and set in a
Yes, I know,
yeah.
I know, but we have different, like, okay, 100 years ago, we didn't have like an actual good, real understanding of like human rights, voting, all of those things, like democracy, all of that. But now, like, if we form a state or a coalition to actually like solve for peace, like that's my like delusional like plea that I do believe is possible in a world where like Israel is.
So if you design the one state, like who's going to be the majority?
There's no. I really think that this like obsession over majority is not something that like is even legitimate. Like I really do from like, okay, look, I have so many like actual connections to the land, like Palestinians, very moderate Palestinians that are actually like West Bank Palestinians, all of these people that just want to like have freedom of movement and move on with like from this like aspect of their life. They don't care that Israel is a state, and they're okay with Israel being there because they know that they
well, sure,
live
but like
on the
just
ground.
as a quick reality check, are you a younger person?
Yeah.
And are you talking about younger friends?
I'm 25. I'm 25
okay.
years.
And are your
I'm
friends like
talking about,
generally younger friends?
They're spread out. No, because I'm talk a lot to people that live in the like still live in the West Bank. Like today, like good friends of mine that like I live in Amsterdam right now. I'm studying here, and I have like friends that have Israeli passports and stuff like that, like Palestinians that have Israeli passports, and all of these things, like all of them are not delusional like the leftists in Europe and the leftists or even like any pro-Palestinian that like say like, oh yeah, the Israeli state must be dissolved and all those things. I'm not like one of those people, but I do actually believe, from what I've spoken to Israelis as well, that I do believe that there is actual like standing together. I'm sure you've heard of them. All of those, like these are growing movements that if they were given international spotlight, if they were actually like put into positions of power, could actually lead to like overall more peaceful outcomes. I'm not saying that the violence will stop immediately completely. I'm not saying all of that shit, but I'm saying that there is a path to peace and no one is actively taking it. Like
I don't think I think that the position you're talking about is an extreme minority position that not many people occupy, and people are going to be attacked from both sides depending on that position. So like there are a group of younger Palestinians, like especially people that either live in Israel or live in like East Jerusalem, who are just like over it and think that there should be some kind of like agreement because everybody wants to move on. But like these people tend to get hit from the right, or I should say from the more traditional or from the more older Palestinians, because they're just seen as like kind of like sellouts or whatever else. And then
I agree with you.
But then
let
people
me hedge, because I want to hedge this just to like I'm providing a less extreme example from myself, like in the not less extreme, but I'm like I do believe that Israel has to like give major concessions if they're actually like serious on peace. Like
sure,
I don't know if you've heard about about Sede Temain. You know about like
I don't know. Wait, I don't know about what
Sede Temain, like the prison raping scandal that happened in Israel, where the CCTV cameras, like the full evidence of it was posted, and then the riots occurred to free the people that were accused of raping the Palestinians.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I haven't.
And then the Israeli Knesset had a whole public debate about whether it was morally permissible or legally permissible to Palestinians with sticks. And Ben Gavir is there on videos in the middle of the Knesset saying, yes, like, why should we not them with sticks? Give me a good reason not to a Palestinian with a stick. And like there's just like, in my opinion, there is that equivalent of that conversation happening on the Palestinian side, but it's not equivalent when that conversation is happening on the Palestinian side among a group of couple thousand guys holding guns with AK-47s and flip-flops, while the other guys are literally having this discussion in a Knesset of like, you know what I'm talking about? Like in a huge ass like thing, I see that there is like some major injustice occurring, and the Israelis are the current propagators of that, in my opinion, because they hold the most power in this equation. And if they hold the most power, then why don't they have the responsibility to push for peace harder than the people with no power and that are constantly like pushed to be more extreme? Like I think the Israelis have reasons to be more extreme, but those reasons are not based in reality, in the sense that like realistically no fighting force in the Middle East has the power to take out Israel, like at least for the next 30 years. Like
these are the same. These are the same talking points. There's just nothing in reality that's going to work here. Like for you to say that you don't care what the negotiated one-state solution looks like that is like paramount. It's everything. Like who's going to be the owner of that state? Will it be the Jewish people or will it be Arabs?
Of course, no. But why do you think like who owns the U.S.?
Americans. What do you mean?
Yeah, and so why can't like Israel Palestinians control the U.S.? Like why can't it?
Because they don't view themselves that way. What do you mean?
But they can if the UN actually made like a specific like, because look,
what if the UN came in and said here's the rule, one state and no hating each other, no more being mean?
Imagine this hypothetical with me, and I'll shut the fuck up after this, okay? Imagine 1 year from now or 2 years from now, there is a large form of like the Hague or something like this, some tribunal that happens in the aftermath of all this, and there are all these people that have been propagating violence that actually get held to some form of accountability. I'm not saying that they actually get put in prison, but maybe they just get kicked out of power and barred from being able to hold power in any way. And you actually have a Israeli-Palestinian coalition designed to create like is that like am I really like stretching reality there, or do you think that like
yes, I think you're really stretching reality. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know you would have to get the world to agree on this, because this would be like a UN or UN Security Council.
Yeah, and I think that there is like a chance where you have like China, Russia, and like America, like at least not vetoing like any decision about this. If there is like if Netanyahu and all of the Hamas people and all of the people that are like propagating war in Israel and Palestine and Lebanon and like all get put into some like tribunal, and this way of life that has existed in the last 100 years can actually like cease, and people can just look at each other without like constant bombings, then I feel like there is a path to peace. Like the racism in America like ended after like there was real kind of desegregation between blacks and whites, and that's kind of like I'm not saying that America is like this perfect non-racist place, but like this ended.
We have different, but it's a different, it's a totally different but
I know it's yeah. I
first
know
of all,
it's
hold on.
different,
When you say you're Lebanese, okay, how were you 1 or 2 when you moved to Europe?
أنا بحكي عربي. I was born in Lebanon, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
but
I'm really,
how
like,
old were you when you went to your international schools and completely and totally left the region? That you're giving me this this is like the most European Western take ever. That like all these people can just live together if the UN comes in and says, guys, no more bullying each other. Like you guys are all gonna love each other. And the difference between Arabs and Israel and Jews are just like the difference between black people and white people in the United States.
No, I'm saying that the only reason that the fighting
when did
is
you
happening.
leave Lebanon?
I left Lebanon in 2006, so I was 6 years old. But I have been to Lebanon like 3-4 months of the year each year, most times. And I'm not like some like.
I just don't. There's no way. I just don't understand how the people of listen. I agree with everything you're saying. If we could make Arabs and Jews get along, then everything would be solved here, right? There'd be literally no problem. But you're like talking about solving
I don't think bro, pre-Israel, yes, there was like Arab and Jewish like problems, but there was no Holocaust that happened in the Middle East for Jews. Like there was no like this insane tension that occurred before Israel was formed as a
because
country.
They were a massively subjugated people that were a massive minority, kept in super minority people that were treated as like basically other citizens.
Like my great you won't believe me when I say this because this sounds retarded as fuck, and maybe this is why I'm so optimistic as a person, is because my great grandma is a Polish Jew that escaped from Poland to Syria and married a fully Syrian Muslim man who was my great grandpa all through my mom's side. Like you won't like this is actual truth. Like I am 1/8 Polish because of that.
Okay.
And like she lived in Syria as a Jew and married a Muslim dude, and like nothing happened. Like they faced no discrimination in Syria for doing this. Like he still was not disowned by his family.
Well, it sounds like the guy had to leave. Well, she married she married a Muslim man. I guess she probably religiously converted, right? No, she didn't. She celebrated Shabbat and all the Jewish religion and all that everything.
I don't know how religious.
Honestly,
I honestly don't know how religious she was, but she did not convert to a Muslim. I know that.
Did she wear like the hairpiece?
No
hijab.
It is? No hijab. No, because bro, like hijab is like in at least from my like. I'm not gonna tell you that there's many Lebanese people, many Arab people that force hijabs on people.
Okay,
100%.
listen. I can't speak to your grandma. That's fine. But like,
yeah, like okay, I get what you're saying.
I would agree if you could just make Arabs and Jews love each other and not have to hate each other. Then I mean, like, yeah,
we should all just take LSD and
sure. Yeah, you should do that. Poison the water, LSD the of the whole country, the region, and make everybody fucking chill. But there's like so many external forces that are encouraging the fighting between both sides.
Okay, let me bring it back to a more realistic. Let me just say something more realistic. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, with you 10 being the most likely and 1 being the least likely, what do you think the percentage chances that like of Israel is gonna be like judged for committing a genocide in Gaza? Because I do believe that there is enough evidence to say that it is a genocide. But if you don't think so, I would like to hear.
I don't know if I think there's a genocide, but I mean, like, based on like recent things, like over the past year, things that have happened, and then statements by the leadership, it's probably a lot more likely. Regardless of whether it was one or wasn't one, my guess right now is that it's more than likely not that the ICJ is going to say that there was. I'm totally vibing that out.
Yeah, so it's like 50-50, you would say?
Sure, I guess. Yeah, is my vibes on it.
And then one thing I want to mention about the strikes in Lebanon, just for like the last 10
final wrap up.
Yeah, okay. The last 10 strike, the 100 strikes in 10 minutes, like that really that was like some like off the cuff shit that Israel hadn't done that type of shit in a really long time to Lebanon. Where like I do agree that in the south they've been giving sometimes the Gaza treatment of just like annihilating places and forcing people out, but in Lebanon like they are usually in Beirut at least because they know that the Lebanese population is like quite not so opposed, and there's like quite people that are like like apolitical and all that thing, like that they don't really want to strike these like heavy civilian centers because they don't want to push the entirety of the Lebanese population against them, because right now it's like not the entire Lebanese population against them, but like this is a big change to how they used to do before, because these areas that were struck, like I'm telling you, like there's a sweet shop next to my grandma's place that was hit, like, and she lives like 300 meters away from that place, and they leveled the entire building, like, and there was like no like Hezbollah command center from my understanding of like being in that place multiple times a year as far as like just 8 months ago. And then I wanted to say, actually it's blank from my mind, so yeah. Thank you for listening to me. I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
And yeah,
thanks a lot, buddy.
Hope you have a nice day.
Yeah, be careful, bud.
One more.
Jeez.
Last here for Stoner. You got 10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Based alert, based.
Go ahead, hurry.
All right, I only have like one question. It's really like, how do we derail these conversations? Because they seem to hijack the conversation every single time, and there needs to be a way to like move them so far past that they feel stupid for even bringing it up. Like, because it's
like talking about Israel-Palestine.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Dems should have a stronger stance on it so they can speak meaningfully about it without it seeming like they're kind of avoiding the debate on it, which is probably not making them look good. And then it's about having strong.
Well, it seems like it's so
complex.
I'm sorry. There needs to be like it's a situation that is so complex you can't like fit all of the solution on like a protest board or something like that. You know, you have to like if you're gonna make it if you're gonna make it like palatable and everything, you have to be able to like make it really, really simple to where, you know, people can understand it. I just feel like it's like too complicated of a situation for like, you know, average like blue collar people to even like contemplate, you know.
Yeah, I agree. It's complicated, but I mean, Democrats could still have a stronger, more well-known position on it. They're just busy discovering. They're on a journey of self-discovery right now to try to figure out what the fuck their positions are on anything, and we're waiting for them to figure that out, basically.
I feel like if we just focus on like domestic issues, like I like none of this like anything in the Middle East. I mean, I understand like we attacked Iran and everything, and it's bad. And Trump administration is like insane, but like we like if we like focus on like domestic issues, I don't really think there's a way we could like really lose that. Too bad. But it's whenever we get into foreign policy every single time that we really but yeah, that's all I had to say. Anyways, I appreciate bringing me on.
Yeah, no problem, buddy.
Yeah, sure.
All right, bye.
All right, debates are done. We might do more tomorrow if Steve wants to.
Make him out.
What?
Problem? What did you not understand that I just said? What did you not understand about what I just said?
I don't think you spoke English.
Good. Well, what do we do? Do you figure it out yet? What the solution is?
It's simple.
Shrimple as what?
Kill the Jews.
Jesus. In a video game, he means. Video game.
It's a joke.
Video game.
JK. I don't know. I don't know how to decide what to do about Israel-Palestine, Steven.
You don't have a solution?
No, I don't.
Not even a small one.
I think they should probably just learn to deal with each other and realize
they should be friends.
True, actually,
literally the same God.
True. Well,
yeah, I think it is in these religions.
Careful about that one.
My solution would be get rid of settlers in the West Bank.
They don't care about that. That's just
make them move.
Jesus.
Sure, but they don't care about that.
Who's that?
That's just the non-Jews. That's just
I think the Jews shouldn't be there.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter.
Wow.
I mean, they shouldn't.
Okay.
You're right.
Brave.
Well, there we go. We agree.
Brave.
Yeah, but it won't solve anything. Though.
Brave takedown. Any more brave takes?
It's a true take, unless you disagree. Say you disagree if you do.
I just said it was brave.
I know. I'm saying if you disagree, you say so.
I didn't say I disagreed.
All right, I agree.
Okay.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Wait, where are you going?
Seriously, yeah, seriously.
I want to eat. I haven't eaten. I've been here.
You don't have to leave Discord to go eat.
Yeah, I can. I do. What?
I misspoke.
What a pussy.
Seriously, I hate him.
It's sad.
What he's become. An eater.
Yeah.
He just goes to eat food. It's great. Who joined? Oh, it's this kid.
Was I wrong?
I don't know. Probably. About what?
I thought, like, well, I had my convo with you about how everyone's just kind of trying to tone police you.
Well, it's not really, though. They want my position to be different is what's happening.
Yeah, it's also, too, I think the Reddit, well, I don't know if all of those people are from the subreddit, but I feel like the Reddit is a lot left from your position.
On some issues, yes, yeah. But it's like, is it, like, I've complained about this forever, and it's just, I feel like it's never going to change, and I don't give a fuck. But like, there's just no center left pillar on the internet anywhere. Like, I'm like, no, that's not true. I'm sorry. I think, well, no, because even like, I feel like probably Muckler and Brian Taylor Cohen all probably, I don't know where they sit on like Israel. My guess is they're probably a lot more conciliatory towards that pro-Pali side too. So there's just not very strong like neo-lib or center left places. So it's very easy to kind of like give way to the further left feeling on all of it just because there's so much pressure moving in that direction. But
yeah, we're culturally weak.
Yeah. So we need to fight back.
I mean, that's kind of like the issue. That's like every subreddit like kind of like turns to like the most maximalist like left position, and like there is no center lib stuff.
Yeah, because extremism is fun, bro. Nobody has a picture of Warren Buffett on their wall. They have Che Guevara.
Well,
do you think the center left will ever like have their Ben Shapiro's?
No.
They'll probably, they'll make a comeback, I'm sure. It'll be in the next few years when the far left and after the far right disappears, or they're going to be all for a while figuring their shit out. It's gonna
Bro,
be.
name me one time in the history of the people that there was like a cool liberal.
What? Bill Clinton, Barack Obama.
Those are presidents.
Yeah, they're liberals.
I'm talking about like
Jon Stewart.
entertainers. Now he was far left.
Not when we were kids. No. Now he's kind of.
I think he was kind of far left even as a kid.
Okay.
Wait, I think so. He was pretty progressive even when he first came on. I think I started watching him on Comedy Central after Craig Kilborn. He was after Craig Kilborn, right?
I don't know. Maybe you know what, Dan? Maybe he was.
He was.
Maybe he was, Dan.
He was.
I have to kill my own cat. God damn it. What have you done today? Anything fun?
I installed an idle air control valve and a Mac boost controller valve that can be controlled from the ECU of my car.
Really?
And I also had my head shaved for a mohawk.
Did you go to like a barber professional for it?
No, it's a mohawk, not a professional hairstyle. You just get rid of everything except for a strip. How long are you going to keep it? Not long. I'll tell you that much. Long enough that I've fulfilled the obligation of whatever the fuck this was, and that's about it.
Is JD Vance, link me whatever this retard's saying. Oh my, he's not even live yet. Okay, we'll watch my queen in the meantime.
Elephant in the room. Obviously, yes, I did talk to Saikuno, and obviously, yes, he did tell me everything. And obviously, yes, I should not have tweeted that I was disappointed yesterday because it just gave a lot of ammo to a lot of angry people.
You know what the top reply to that was?
The dog shocking thing?
Yeah, 50,000 likes.
Based.
But yeah, he knows that I was gonna mention it today, and he told me everything, and yeah, I am disappointed, as I have been with a lot of my friends in the past, and I'm sure I've also been disappointing to a lot of my friends as well. So.
Ooh, what do we know from this, Dan?
I can't speak ultra leftist.
Saikuno's going to continue to stream. She's going to continue to be friends with him. She made the equation, or she equated.
Wait. Oh,
what?
Sorry. Hold on. I may have missed that.
She's
go back 15 seconds. I want to be on the same page. Hold on.
Elephant in the room. Obviously, yes, I did talk to Saikuno, and obviously, yes, he did tell me everything. And obviously, yes, I should not have tweeted that I was disappointed yesterday because it just gave a lot of ammo to a lot of angry people. And so, but yeah, he knows that I was gonna mention it today, and he told me everything, and yeah, I am disappointed, as I have been with a lot of my friends in the past, and I'm sure I've also been disappointing to a lot of my friends as well. So
100%.
You know.
Yeah, everybody makes mistakes. What are you gonna do? What do you want her to say?
Stupid mistakes. What are you?
Stupid mistakes, man.
The cancellation of this shit is so stupid in the first place. I'm glad they're all eating themselves. Good.
He was a fucking predator, Dan. A predator. So you're pro predator.
Really?
Are you a predator? Are you pro predator? Just curious. Are you?
I'll tell you who the predator was in that situation. By the way, you want to know who the fucking Giga Predator was? I'm gonna say it, and everyone's gonna know who it was. You know who it was?
Tell us.
It was the Melina sound-alike. Whoever the person was.
What? This does not sound like Melina.
Yes, she did. That person was the predator in this whole story. Guaranteed. She was recording, and that was some psychotic evil shit. Yes, it's true. That may have been Melina. I don't know.
Okay, Queen, but okay, interesting.
I mean, does it not change in your mind a little bit when you know that like she knew she was recording when she got on
this
that
is
call?
my argument. I've said this a million times, and nobody ever fucking sides on that. But no, yeah, I agree.
That person is dangerous. Is all I'm gonna say.
True. Big true. Okay, can I keep going?
Yeah, I'll allow it. Go ahead.
It is disappointing.
Oh, true. You know who didn't get this treatment?
Who?
Wendy. Natsumi. She got massively excised. You know who did get this treatment, though? Who got the forgiveness treatment? Was the Fuslie. What's the difference between all these creators? What was Fuslie's concurrent viewership? What was pretty high, wasn't it? What was Wendy? What was Natsumi's viewership? Pretty low, huh?
I don't think it
pretty
was
low.
Yeah.
What about the Saikuno guy? Oh, pretty big, right?
I think there's.
What about Albert? Remember Lily's ex?
I do remember Albert. I do remember
what was his concurrent viewership? Pretty low, huh?
Yeah, he did magic tricks.
Interesting.
That was weird.
Well, okay.
It is disappointing. Yeah, he's a cheater. He's a cheater. But yeah.
What
we
are you gonna
talked, and
He's gonna go to therapy. Do the therapy thing. He said he's gonna go to therapy. I love that therapy is like it's got to be therapy, bro. Like he cheated, he hacked in CS:GO, and he agreed he's gonna go to therapy and talk to somebody. And
Clara,
He's gonna figure things out, and
In therapy.
I hope for the best. And I am so sorry to all of those involved. Sucks. So yeah, no, I did not know. I did not know he had a girlfriend. I did not know, which led to my tweet. Because I thought my tweet was going to make it clear that I didn't know. But apparently me tweeting that had a lot of, caused a lot of distress. So yeah, a lot of angry people. A lot of angry people, you know, it's my karma. Because last year, it's because XQC reacted to my tweet, and he did a whataboutism, which is funny because last year when I talked about it, I did a whataboutism, which I've already talked about and I already apologized for, and I already understand that it was really stupid of me.
that is kind of up though. Is that true? Did XQC really go over her tweet that she put out in public? How the fuck would he react to that? That's crazy. Jesus.
I don't know. I can't imagine.
How I worded it. And this is just my karma coming back again. It's just coming back. So yeah, it's yeah. I already talked about all that. Everything that everyone's telling me to talk about, I already talked about. And I already own up to it, you know? I own up to my shit.
How do you feel about Swalwell? Coordinated attack. None of it's true. They're trying to take him
APAC.
down. Is he
APAC.
pro or anti-APAC?
I don't know. I just scream
Whatever
APAC
it is,
whenever.
it's definitely not
APAC.
true. And I definitely categorically don't believe anything ever until I need videotape of him being abusive. Otherwise, it's a lie.
I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. You cheated, so what? Who cares? No, okay. Cheating is bad, guys. I don't know who needs to hear this.
Did you not see the video? I saw the 4-second video. What am I supposed to get from this?
Do you think she's lying about not knowing?
Who, Valkyrie?
Yeah.
No, I don't think they would permit like him cheating in the friend group or whatever. So she's probably being honest about that.
But cheating is not a good thing. It's a self.
Why does she talk with this weird self-infantilizing baby voice? Everybody does this. It's the bimbo himbo thing. Hassan does it too when he's like talking about shit that he doesn't want to like address like seriously. What was the like this voice? It's just we hate it more,
dude,
when women do it, but it's like this voice too.
I don't know what it is, man. I don't know why people, I will never understand why.
I just don't get it. Like, I don't know. Like, I can't, my haters are so like obsessed with me. It's like this kind of fucking retard, like the himbo bimbo voice. Yeah, people do it. But yeah, she does it too.
Selfish act. It hurts people. It's a bad thing.
What do you want me to say? It's bad. Cheating's bad.
I think it's a normal thing to be disappointed.
Wait, hold on. She's handling this okay.
And I think it's a normal thing to be disappointed. Streamers, YouTubers, TikTokers, and literally everyone collaborates with everyone, and I don't think people realize that people aren't as close as they seem. It's the funeral talk. It doesn't necessarily mean that we know everyone's whole life story and what they're doing and what's going on and stuff. And at the end of the day, I will go to Ludwig's funeral because of Cutie. I think that
Epic reference.
before you cheat, break up.
But then it wouldn't be cheating.
End the relationship.
No fun.
Are you defending him? No.
Ooh.
I think cheating is very bad. Like I mentioned many times now. I think that he really needs to talk to the people that were involved.
Wait, what did I take? I thought I leveled the scope and I took a, you can see everything, line of sight restrictions are ignored. Wait, I thought that meant I could shoot through everything. Wait, what the fuck does see everything mean? I can't shoot through this? Not to be too parasocial, but they lived together in 2022. There's no way she didn't know and they were friends. Bro, living together, especially for streamers, doesn't mean all. Like you could, like they could live together and not talk much personally at all, or it's not like she's like on his computer, like reading everything. And yeah. Somebody said, are you excited for another round in front of Judge Becerra? Having Doe's attorneys explaining that they didn't have depositions because of Doe's school schedule would have been disrupted will be cinema. Yeah, I'm hoping that I don't know how normal it is, but I don't think it's normal to, like, she called for a hearing on that and I expected it to be automatically granted, which I think is good. And she called for a hearing on it immediately. Like, we didn't even respond yet and she called for a hearing. So I'm hoping that that's going to be a cinema court day. That's in 9 days. Hopefully I have a good indication of what is going to be happening, I guess, based on that hearing. Yeah. What do you think Vance is going to be saying? Is there a chance for her to rule on anything other than a continuance that day? I mean, like, theoretically, I think judges can rule on anything at any time. And I think you can rule orally on things, right? Like, a judge can grant or dismiss a motion in person, just verbally, right? What do you mean when you say called for hearing? For what, and what does it mean? Well, they filed something a few days ago to ask for the case to be continued 2 months, for the trial date to be pushed 2 months down, because they need to do, for Pixie's side, because they still want to go to Sweden and depose Melina, and we haven't done party deposition or anything like that. And then, so right after they filed that, we have to do a response, and our response is due in 2 weeks. But the main judge on the case, scheduled a hearing for us on that motion for 9 days from now. I think on the 20th, 420, baby. Woo! Before we even responded to it. So my guess was going to be that motion would have been instantly granted, because I think it's pretty normal to ask for a continuance or whatever. So I'm hoping that the hearing will be instructive on whether or not they're going to dismiss it. Or my hope is that every time any judge has like ruled on a motion or done a hearing, like, her attorneys have gotten fucking roasted. So my hope is that she's going to be asking them for, like, why aren't the depositions done? They still have, like, I hope that they're going to address the show cause on, like, why did you guys skip your deposition and you didn't tell the court, and you emailed Bretler and you told him that you weren't going to tell the court? Why the fuck did you do this? And then figuring out, like, on the motion for summary judgment, like, do you guys have anything for subject matter jurisdiction right now? Or, April 21st. But yeah, I'm hoping those questions will all come up. Otherwise, I don't know what the point of the hearing would be, but we'll see, I guess. Yeah. I guess my question would be, if they were going to rule on your MSJ favorably, why would they do it in person? Maybe the judge is giving them one less chance to give a good explanation and then rule in your favor. Well, that's my, like, maybe, my guess, yeah. But we'll see.
Do you think that if you were more generally liked, kind of like Saikuno, do you think people would defend you as, like, hard as he's kind of being defended now?
Is Saikuno being defended?
It seems like people are, like, more open to the idea that it's like, this is kind of like, this document's like kind of bullshit.
I could be totally wrong, but that's not my take at all. My take is he's going to be pretty hardcore canceled.
Well, within his community, he's definitely going to be kind of...
Yeah, there'll be people, like, on my side of the internet, but we're a totally different community that doesn't really interface with them at all. Like, yeah, I think it just has to do in my community and, like, the progressive side of things, it's pretty hard to survive any kind of, like, bad sexual accusations related to women. It doesn't matter if people like you or not. That's going to be a pretty tough call.
I was basing it a bit off LSF, but it's also probably just a bunch of Asmongold viewers, to be fair.
Well, LSF is going to be Asmongold viewers and my viewers too, right? And yeah, I don't even know. And Hassan's viewers aren't even really plugged in that much to social stuff, and XQC viewers, yeah, I don't think, there's nobody there that is going to be attacking him hardcore.
I just don't see this, like, following him, like, how similar to your situation.
Probably not, but that's also because, like, there was nothing, like, super serious that he was accused of. It was basically, like, the worst is really just cheating, right? It's technically the worst that he did, and then they're stretching real hard for the other stuff to try to make people care about it. When is this guy supposed to go live?
Live in 5.
Live in 5. Hold on, there's a bunch of lies around your thing that would not exist if you were Saikuno, and so people wouldn't see you as bad. I mean, yeah, but that's like political sides on things. There are communities of people that are dedicated to, like, super hating me. I was thinking about going over one of these today. Let me think if I want to or not. Let me use the restroom. Hold on.
I think I hate this cat game more than any other game he's played on stream.
Cat noises, all right?
Okay, let's see real quick. Let me watch this real quick.
Oh no, let me do it again. What? Where is all this energy for Kaya the shock dog?
True. Okay.
It was radio silence because the master of the orchestra was orchestrating people to not speak, avoid this, do that. Because, again, his current social value is elevated. So since his value to them is elevated, everybody is extremely soft to that, to the point where they're getting directed on what to do. Saikuno's the social value is almost his currency in that way has gone down a little bit, right? At least in their eyes. So
X, thanks for the
so
streams,
he's
bro.
the bad guy.
You have no idea.
He's the you know what I mean? The prize goes away. Holy shit! Then I feel differently about this. Then you stand on nothing. They spineless. These people are made out of jello. Like it's why I called it Jellywig last time, because I saw him in real life. We had this argument about the Kaya thing, and we were on an understanding, not just I think about this, like elaboration, like complete breakdown. And then he goes on stream, my boy guy's not a shot caller, and I'm not gonna talk about it anymore. Bye. You see, I'm like, that's Jellywig.
Guessing Jellywig is Ludwig?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.